reading out the signals for the Baltimore Colts. Unitas gives to Amici. The Colts are the world champions. Amici scores.
It's amazing, sensational, dramatic, heart-rending, exciting, thrilling finish in the history of college football. California has won the big game.
5 seconds left in the game. Do you believe in miracles? Yes! Unbelievable.
This is Phil.
Hey, good morning. We had a little technical snafu with the open. It's kind of been that way so far here on a Thursday, but we do welcome you into Thursday here on the program. Hope you're well wherever you might be. And be sure to join us in our McClelland chat room, McClelland Chiropractic. Let's rock and roll. Coming up today on the program, Andy Bitter will join us from Tech Sideline. That'll be around 7-ish or so for Andy. David Teel, the Hall of Fame writer, now writing for the Virginian Pilot. And, we're going to get into this big thing coming up on the 18th with Whit Babcock and his proposal that he has to make to the Tech board. It's going to be wild, man. We'll talk about that. And then Dwight Vick joins us for the first time. That'll be at 8 o'clock. So we got a lot going on here on the program today. So make sure you join us. And we would love to have everybody in here to spread the word. Like, subscribe, go nuts. Obviously not dressed for work today because I'm off the next 2 days because I'm about to become an empty nester. Taking my youngest son to UVA Wise for his first year of college tomorrow. We have to get all packed up because he's utterly and completely unorganized. So we're just kind of chilling out today, and tomorrow we'll go to Wise, work on all that today, and I'll take him down the road toward Naughton, Wise County. It's beautiful, by the way. If anybody's never been to the southwestern tip of the Commonwealth, it's an easy drive. Anytime you're driving south, have you noticed that? Anytime you're going south, even on 81, which, bad driving guy has pretty much ruined forever. Even when you're going south, it's not that big a deal. Or it doesn't feel like it's that big a deal. But in any event, that's what's going on. Also going on here on this program, we are broadcasting live from the Family Fencing Studios. And if you're tired of that old worn-out fence or no fence at all, Family Fencing can give you the yard and the upgrade that it deserves. They have a no-dig installation system. They build you a beautiful fence with no holes, no mess, no damage. And they are locally owned fence experts in the New River Valley in Southwest Virginia. They specialize in vinyl, aluminum, wood, chain link for residential, commercial, and agricultural fencing. Finance options are available to make it easy. Get your free quote today. Call Family Fencing at 540-200-8294. Visit them online. You can see it all scrolling at the bottom, familyfencingnrv.com. Family Fencing, building better fences, no digging required. Thank you, folks, so much at Family Fencing for being part of the program. That's happening. So I will not no work today, no collared shirt today. Oh, by the way, I'm wearing my 1984 throwback beloved San Diego Padres cap because the Padres are now, ladies and gentlemen, in first place in the National League West. Surpassing the Dodgers, who have, I don't know how many billions in back pay they're going to owe this current roster, but the beloved Pods have surged into first. And, of course, the Padres and Dodgers have a big series coming up this weekend. Be sure to go into the chat room. Let's talk that way. You can also hit me up on the BDST text line, which is also up and functioning now. So either way you want to do it. But I really like the chat room because I can interact with you there and I can read your comments directly off the board here. So that's what's kind of fun about that. So there's the text line 540-391-0788. Either way is fine. But I really like it when you're in the chat room. So we got a full throttled show today of very respected and cool folks. Day 4, man. Hard to believe. Day 4 of the first week here on YouTube. It's been a lot of fun. It's been very successful, and we need more people to be involved always. So please take the time to go in, even if you don't get to watch the show live in the mornings. Go through and watch them later, even if you watch just parts of it. It helps the algorithm. And we need subscribers. We need people to hit the subscribe button and always like and share and do all those cool things that you see. I know when you're watching videos, you get that a lot. And now I understand it. You know, somebody who watches a lot of YouTube, and basically everything I watch now is through YouTube. My television is through YouTube, NFL packages through YouTube TV, all the things I usually watch because network TV is just so horrible, along with other streaming services like Prime and Netflix and things. But, you know, I do most of it through YouTube. So now I get when I'd watch those videos and they would hit that really hard because these other channels also have assigners. We have someone assigned here, and they've been very positive, very supportive. And they like what we're doing, but you know, they just urge it along, and they want you to have all these things and have as many people involved as possible. And I get it. And that's what I ask you to do, and to spread the word. And like I said, you can convince your family and your friends, even if they're like, hey, I'm not a big sports person, I don't have time to watch things. Well, it's okay. Subscribe to it. And when you want to, it's right there. That's all. That's all you need to do. Continuing to get barraged with T-shirts. It's awesome. Thank you. Or T-shirt requests. So I got to figure this out pretty quickly. That's kind of taken on a life of its own. I didn't expect merch to be something people would want this early. And we're going to work on that here, you know, next week. One-man show here, so I have to kind of pick my time to do these things. But thank you very much, Reggie. It's very nice of you. Very nice. Reggie says, back for day 4. Guest list, like the host, is top-notch. You're too kind, Reggie. Thank you. And this is why I like the chat. I can immediately read what's going on. Robert says, I have something I'd like to donate to the program for your wall. I need to find how to get that to you. Robert, I tell you what, you can, we'll figure that out. I'll give you my DM. Important enough to have a DM. We'll figure that out, Robert. We'll figure that out. People are asking for requests on shirts. I don't have the shirts yet, but yeah, we will. Got to figure out the design. People are saying hats and huggies as well. Really? Those are the animals in the background. Wild Kingdom taking place. We'll take one piece of merch at a time. Okay. But we'll work on it. Oh, it's K-State Rob. Hey, K-State Rob. K-State Rob, that'll be easy then. You just shoot me a message and we'll get to it. Yeah, I had after day 1, I think it was Mike Palmer. He asked me what I needed back here. I need a lot because the backdrop. I mean, I like my Gratishar. See that right there? And my old Marvel Comics poster back here. But yeah, I'm thinking maybe something that would fill these gaps right through here. See right here? You know, something that's just back there because I've got the 74 Tech helmet and all that. Yeah, we'll figure it out. It'll evolve as we go. The first week has been all about getting on, trying to get used to the whole mechanism, and that's what's happening. Now, I will say this morning. Now, here we go. This is what I warned you about Monday. 3 days actually. Today, we've been having issues with a lot of things. I had to reboot a few times. My studio that I use online, StreamYard, has had issues. So reading between the lines, things could happen today. But if it does happen and we go off, don't worry. We will pop right back on. Okay? Don't worry about it. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. Garrett writes in, what do you think about Rich Rod back at WVU? Why not? You know, sometimes the second stints at schools work out. I don't think he was ever a guy that the crowd there in Morgantown turned on until at the end, you know, when he didn't win as much. And I'm going to work on, you know, I have a lot of friends up there in the West Virginia athletic department. As a matter of fact, the head football SID, Mike Montoro, is a good friend. And, you know, back when Rich Rod was at West Virginia the first time, he came on the show all the time. in the first run of the show between 2001, 2010. So I'm going to request to get him on. And I don't know whether that'll work and when it might work, but yeah, I'll keep you posted. There's no question about that. So why not? I mean, Neil Brown was a very nice guy. We had him on the show, 3 times, I think, 3 or 4 times when we rebooted in 2020. But a very nice guy. And I wanted him to do well. I did. I wanted Neil Brown to do well. My dad was a West Virginia grad, so I've always had that program in my household growing up, the blue and gold. So I've always paid attention to it and followed it somewhat. But he just didn't get the job done. He couldn't keep recruiting up. I don't think he adjusted very well to the coming, avalanche of NIL things. Good guy. Just wasn't right for West Virginia. And maybe Rich Rod can go back, and I know he's created some buzz there. So let's see what happens. Let's see what happens there. I mean, there's no doubt, he's a good football coach. Rich Rod's a good football coach. And maybe he's back home. He knows this will be probably his last stop. He'll give everything he's got, more so. Not that he didn't the first time, but so Garrett, yeah, I think it's fine. I do. Hookie Bob asked you and your son go on a wood booger hunt while you're down near Norton. All I know is if we stop maybe to take a break, Hookie Bob, if we're just kind of chilling out and we're maybe at a rest area, around with the wooded coverage, and then you hear something. I don't know if there would be a subsequent hunt, but I would say that, we'd probably get the hell out of there pretty quickly. Dwight said, let's hope that Rich Rod's second stint works out a lot better than Mac Brown's at UNC. Yeah, good call, Dwayne. Good call. Hit us up on the McClellan Chiropractic chat line. That's right. And K-State Rob, Coach Snyder came back and had success at Kansas State. So, yes, Garrett, it can happen. It can happen. And I just remember when you heard the rumors of that was going to happen, and then it did, and I saw the presser. I watched some of the presser, and I was, okay, you know what? This is good. This is going to be okay. This is going to be all right. Incredibly tough league. A league that I think, as I mentioned yesterday, from what I've been told from my Big 12 constituents, I believe that is the league that Virginia Tech will be a part of in the not-so-distant future. That's my prediction. We'll see how that plays out. But that's where I think they're going to end up. But that's a topic for some other time. Injuries, by the way. Andy Bitter is going to talk about some injuries that have been kind of piling up. And I don't think – nothing major, by the way. This isn't a breaking news injury report. But injuries that are starting to happen at this time of camp. The guys get nicked up. They get banged around a little bit. He'll update us on all that from the Tech Sideline perspective. So looking forward to having, that's the Thursday right there, right? I mean, you've got Andy, you've got David Teel, and then you've got Dwight Vick. That's when your host just knows just to get out of the way. Get out of the way. Tomorrow on the program is the first Finally Friday edition of the new show. And I'm really not sure how the guest list is going to look yet. There's lots of different possibilities out there. So keep an eye on the Facebook page, and we'll put up a preview and let you know. I'm not quite sure yet how that's going to work out tomorrow, but we shall see. But, yeah, that's where we are. Empty nesting it this weekend. It's just been me and my son here. I mean, we've been batching it up for the last 5 years plus. It's going to be tough not hearing him bound around upstairs and things like that. I guess the good side of it is the next time I go to the grocery store, I won't have to buy his food. So that'll bring down my grocery bill by like $600. But in any event, yeah, it'll be good. There's good and the bad. There's good and the bad. Good for him because he's starting his next life, or the next stage of his life. And that's all you can ask as a parent. You try to prepare your kids. You know, you've done it. You try to put them out there and you send them, and you just hope for the best. And if they need you, you're a phone call away. You think, and now that both of my parents have passed on, when you're that age, you feel like you're invincible, right? Or you feel like it's my life, do whatever I want to do, leave those things behind. And I remember my freshman year at Radford, you're sitting there and you realize, wow, I don't smell mom's fried chicken. I'm out of food. Do I have to go buy my own food? What, right? My clothes are dirty. How do we wash clothes? Things like that. And I've tried to prepare him for that too. This is all you now, man. You can't call me and expect me to go to the grocery store and bring you things. You think you're invincible, and then you think, they offered to talk to you, call you. And what are you doing? Find myself on the phone, a week later talking to my parents. Hey, if you're not doing anything this weekend, I'd like to come home and eat. Something of that nature. So I hope he knows that I'm always here for him. But, something I haven't done yet and I want to get into is about 3 weeks ago now, we lost Norman Linderberg. And I say we because whether you were a Radford Bobcat fan, whether you're a Radford Bobcat alum, whether you played for Coach or not, everybody just about knew who Coach Linderberg was. One of the most genuine human beings I've ever known. And I had the good fortune of spending 8 years with Coach Linderberg directly when I had my first play-by-play gig, calling Radford High School games on the radio for old WRAD, AM 1460, WRAD. Remember the little white building there in Fairlawn, right across from McDonald's, right there? You have that gas station, the Bojangles, and then up adjacent to it, it's gone now. I think it's a clothing outlet or something. Maybe it's a thrift store. Whatever's up there now. You'd go around the winding road and that little white building, and that was WRAD. And I had a afternoon country shift, Q102 with Rick Allen. Went with my middle name at that time. And I started doing Radford Bobcat games as Rick Watson. And I got to meet Coach. I'd heard a lot about him. I knew about him. I knew he'd won back-to-back state championships in 71 and 72. Having been a Pulaski County grad, you heard about Radford High School and Norman Linderberg and the legend. And I remember Coach Hicks would talk just so highly of him. And I didn't know him. I had no idea really who he was. So I went down for the first interview of the first game, and I'm nervous. I have my little handheld recorder, and I'm getting ready to interview a coach for the first time, really. And I go in there, and he knew I was coming. I had arranged it ahead of time. And I go in there, and he's got lunch ready for us. Very first time I went to talk to Coach into his office. And if anybody was in Coach's office, you remember he called it his own I can't remember exactly the phrase he used, but his own personal recognized organization, which meant papers and charts and things all over the place. And I get it because I'm kind of the same way. And we sat down, he shook my hand and introduced himself, and I introduced myself, and we ate lunch and we eased into the whole thing. That's how good he was at relationships and understanding people. And told me about Radford Bobcats football, his philosophy, how he approached kids, the great players that had come through there and what they tried to build. Frank Beamer being an assistant there. At this point, Frank Beamer was at Virginia Tech. And that relationship just kept getting closer and closer. And I valued, and usually it was a Wednesday, mid-morning into lunch. That's when Coach would like to do the interview, Coach Linderberg. It was Wednesday, because that gave him a couple of days into practice. They could put either the previous game behind him, and then by then they're getting into practice and they're starting to focus on the next opponent enough to where, okay, let's go now. Thursday, you're getting into that final scripted practice. As you know, you're around high school football, played it, watch your own children, wherever it might be today. Thursday's kind of the scripted, okay, let's go over the scout. Let's go over this thing, do a walkthrough one more time. The Wednesday was the day, and you would end up going down there, and the first time you go, you think he's going to want me to get in and out, and I'm done. And you realize that you're leaving 2 hours later. And you don't care at all because you're having such a good time talking to Coach Lindenberg. And we would eat, we hear stories. You know, he was the AD. He was busy. Sometimes he'd get called to do things. We'd walk the football stadium. Now it's Norman Lindenberg Field. And I remember those days vividly. Just to this day, I can remember those days. And he and I became friends pretty quickly. And then he became one of the biggest supporters of me that I've had in my life outside of my own family, my own parents. And I'm going to hold this up because I don't know whether you can see this or not. Can anybody see that? That is the last Radford Bobcats team. That's going to look terrible, isn't it? There's glare and everything else. But that is the last Radford Bobcats team that I called games for right there. 98 squad. And on the bottom of this picture, the value, now I've always valued it immensely, but now more so than ever that Coach is no longer with us. But he wrote on here, and first of all, he put this right here. This says Rick Watson, Michigan State. And I kept that in his writing because he always said, you're going to end up at a place like Michigan State calling games, because he had a lot of respect for that program. So I kept that on there. But he said this is what he wrote on here in his own, style of writing, which he used to always be self-deprecating about. He said, Rick, you're the best. Many thanks for everything you've done for the Bobcats. Our athletes respect you so much and are so glad you're a part of our program. I will always wish you the best of life, which is good health and happiness. Norman Lindenberg, 1998. And this is, probably more valuable to me than 99.7% of the things I've ever owned. So, but to my point is, Coach, of course, he lost his wife, Joanne, and, I'm close with our athletic director, Robert Lindenberg, and I know it's tough, man. I just lost my mom, and then his mom got sick and she passed, and then Coach was around, and he and I would talk when he would come to events. He still came to Radford events the last couple of years, and, he would talk about how much he missed her, but, he would get a little smile on his face, and he would talk about the life that he lived, and he couldn't imagine at any time of that life having a better result. And he would still critique our Radford teams. He'd come to a basketball game and he would ask me what I thought about him. He always was a coach. Coach Lindenberg was always coaching in his mind. Be at a baseball game. He loved coming to the baseball games and sitting in the stadium. And I'd always go down and talk to him before we would jump on the ESPN Plus broadcast. But they had to move, of course, his services to the Dedman Center because there's not one church or funeral home that was going to hold it because of the immense amount of folks that he has impacted. And we were very fortunate. We're starting to lose these iconic people that influence so many of our lives. And we've talked about this on the old show. And I was very fortunate to have an in-studio with Coach Hicks before he got ill, and just talking to him and reliving those days. And you think about when you're – and I hope it's still that way now because it's so hard today to be a coach. I have so much respect for all of our high school coaches that are out there. It's more difficult in this day of what we're doing. Heck, day of social media and digital. Like right now, I'm on YouTube. because that's the way that media communication has evolved. You know, I'll always be a radio guy, but radio seems to kind of be in terms of people getting their info and so forth. So I hope that young people, and I think that's still the case, respect and want to learn, and will come to an understanding of how important coaches are that are doing it the right way. And we had so many that were doing it the right way during my era of growing up through high school and then broadcasting through the 90s and early 2000s. I mean, legends here in Southwest Virginia. Legends. I won't be able to name them all, but you can go through both Coach Hicks and Coach Lindenberg and Steve Ragsdale, Coach Lowe at Narrows, Winford Beal. Anybody out? I mean, I'm not trying to leave anybody out. I mean, Dave Christ at Blacksburg, Mike Cole at Christiansburg. And I've been very fortunate, you know, very fortunate to work with many of those people. Dave Christ, one of my all-time favorite people. I did Blacksburg games for a couple of years too at the old stadium, the old field. Bill Brown Stadium. It's no longer the same, I don't think, with the new turf field there. Loved old Bill Brown Stadium. And had a very similar experience with Coach Chris going and doing the interview and just soaking up all the knowledge and just always so grateful that these gentlemen thought enough of me to give me some of their time. And that's the thing. Every time somebody comes on this show, or when I'm out with Radford and I'm interviewing opposing coaches, I'm just so grateful they're actually sitting down and talking, you know. I just, you know, I get their time, and that means the world to me. I never look at it like you owe me this. They don't owe me a damn thing. They can always just say no, and you get that a lot. I mean, I've had some people I've reached out to be part of the new show, and, you know, ultimately the answer is probably not. And you get it. You understand. You don't take it personally. You can't take it personally. But from the perspective of how I started in broadcasting, I can't imagine being able to work with a better human being than Norman Lindenberg. And those Bobcat teams, man, a lot of them were undermanned. I remember playing Powell Valley High School, the Vikings. Speaking of the southern tip of Virginia. On a Saturday afternoon, Powell Valley was the number one team in the state. Right, for Double A at that time. Everybody knows Thomas and Julius Jones. Radford, I think, may have had 18 healthy players on that Saturday. They didn't beat them, but they hung in there for 3 quarters, and eventually they got worn down because Powell Valley had, I don't know, they probably brought 65 kids. We'd go down there in the semifinals. It seemed like every year you have a run through the playoffs, you ended up at Powell Valley. But teams that overachieved, that always worked really hard. And that's what always stands out to me. Not just the players, but the type of results that coach would get. And he would always say, you know, I haven't won a state championship since 1972, and I don't think about it that way. I just think about how blessed I was to have a team that good. 2 teams that good. And he had some really good teams after that. He never looked back with regret. He always looked forward to the next day of practice or the next game. And he affected a lot of lives, just like your coaches have affected a lot of lives. K-State Rob, yeah. I mean, you become friends with Coach Hicks and Dan Callahan, 2 people that I miss immensely. You know, and other than my own dad, I mean, whether, you know, it's cliche or not, Coach Hicks, without doubt, shaped who I was as a, you know, mid-range teenager on more than anybody else. And then you work with these coaches later, and they also kind of shape you. You may not realize it at the time. But, yeah, absolutely. And boy, I'm with you. I miss Dan Callahan. Dan Callahan was, as you know, one of a kind. And I'm not sure there's anyone who's ever been able to talk about high school football in the Commonwealth with more knowledge and with more emotion, I'll say it that way, than Dan. And I was very fortunate. We started the whole 4th and Goal show together. He called me one day and said, "Hey, would you like to do this?" And I said, "Sure, let's go for it. I'm going to call it 4th and Goal." He goes, "1st and Goal is boring. You still have, you've got 4 plays." That's what Dan said. "You got 4 plays on 1st and Goal. That's not dramatic. It's 4th and Goal. What are you going to do?" And I'll tell you this, you better not try to throw the ball 4th and Goal inside the 1. Dan always would say, 3 things can happen. Or what? Let's see. Incomplete, interception, or you don't score. 4 things can happen and 3 of them are bad. That's what he used to say. So that's why when I kept the show going, got it going again with Jermaine Farrell, that's why we kept the name 4th and Goal, to honor Dan. But I found this too as I was going through some things when we cleared out my mom's. Look at that. That is the old WRED. It's a bumper sticker. I'm terrible at holding things in front of a camera. But look at that. Great music and memories. WRED 1460. I have no idea why it is Salem Spartan colors. Catch the Bobcats. The game's on us. I'm so glad I never took the peeling off the back. I think that's pretty cool. Everybody see that? Is that cool? Trying to get it. There you go. There's not much glare there. See the old radio picture right there? Isn't that sharp? I like that. And then actually, Coach gave me this. Coach Lindenberg. This was 97-98, my last year. The old Three Rivers District. Look at that sticker. Radford, Auburn, Floyd, Giles, Glenver, and Shawsville. Another sticker I was glad I never stuck. Yeah, that's true. It is George Wythe, isn't it? Wayne, it is. Yeah, George Wythe, Salem. Yeah, I don't know why they did the stickers in that color. I have no idea. The Bobcat sticker, it should be black and gold. But there you go. So I just wanted to get that out of the way. Coach, you are forever going to be missed. Your legacy is set forever. Not only with your overall, win-loss record, Virginia Hall of Famer, none of that. Just because of all the people you influenced. And you don't get to choose your own legacy. Your legacy stands on its own. I think a lot of these modern day folks think, well, this is what I want my legacy to be. No, that's not up to you. That's up to others. But they never cared. Those coaches I mentioned from that era, I don't think they ever thought about their legacy or cared. I don't think Steve Ragsdale ever cared about his legacy. He just wanted to make sure he was able to single wing it to the point to where you're so demoralized coming out of the locker room at halftime that you just want to go home and leave Parisburg. We're going to have here maybe next week, I think, Jeremy Haymore, who's written a book about the 1980 Giles team. And we're going to talk about that because I still remember being there with my dad and my brother in Parisburg that day. Leon King and the Giles Spartans on a Saturday, and Bandana Boys, the Bad Bandana Boys, they had bandanas all over the place. All over the place. And Alan Pinkett played at Notre Dame, was on the other side of the field. He had already committed to Notre Dame. And Leon King was the best player on the field, as he always seemed to be. And we're going to talk about those things with Jeremy. I think it's going to happen next week. So So, yeah, we got some other things we're working on as well. Some things I'm working on tomorrow, but I don't have some clarification, so I don't want to just, start talking about it until things happen. So, there you go. Wayne says, so are you praying for a Taylor Swift halftime show at Super Bowl like all of us? Are they still together? I mean, nobody cares. I mean, she is so washed in terms of just overexposure. No one's ever going to care again about that relationship. I know Kelsey's on the downside of his career. Is that even still a thing? Does anybody? I don't look for it. I don't search for it. I haven't thought about it. Thanks, Wayne. I hadn't thought about either one of those people until you just said it. So I don't know. Yeah, you're right, Big Al. Big Al says those coaches I just mentioned about legacy because they're not DC politicians because they're not thinking of themselves. And no, they did not think of themselves. Those coaches were always thinking of others, the greater good involved. Absolutely. And you know what? It's amazing as you get older, you realize how much you appreciate that because it's just not out there anymore. It's just not as much. It's hard, man. It's hard to find that now. It's very, very difficult to find that now. Hit us up here on the McClelland Chiropractic chat line. A lot of folks chatting in today. The text line's open 540-391-0788. And again, please like and subscribe and share. I'm pushing it because it's pushed on me. And I don't mind it being pushed on me. It's like a coach, your YouTube handler saying, okay, your analytics look good so far. 3 shows, looking great. And the good news is, we haven't violated any YouTube rules, which is just outstanding. I would have thought by now there would have been some violations, but no, we're good to go right now. So, yeah, I was pretty excited about that. Pretty excited to find out there were no violations that we had violated thus far. Hey, good morning, Rodney. How are you? Wayne says, boy, I'm really worried about you, Wayne, for knowing this. Wayne says, don't hide your true feelings. She just announced her new album on his podcast. I don't believe she wants to do it here on the show. No. So they are still a thing. That's disappointing. But, they don't have the self-awareness to know that nobody outside of Kansas City, or if you're one of the 13 or 14-year-old girls that follow her career, care about Taylor Swift or Travis Kelce. I mean, check me on that. Am I wrong? I don't think I'm wrong on that. I just don't. I don't think I'm wrong on it. But any event, yeah, I am dressed down today. Thank you. Casual look. That's because I'm not going to work today because I'm off the next 2 days getting my son ready to take to school and, to be an absolute empty nester, man. It's here. It is here. Take him down to Wise tomorrow. Padres, by the way, first place, baby. They have passed the Dodgers here post-trading deadline. And they've surged into first place in the National League West by a game. How about that? Now, do I think the Padres are better than the Dodgers? No. But it's kind of fun right now to see the Dodgers, who have deferred how many billions that they're going to have to pay later that baseball allowed to give them that unfair advantage. And now they've fallen behind beloved Pods, who are 8-2 in their last 10 games. Brewers, Bo, the best team in baseball. How about the Milwaukee Brewers? Milwaukee Brewers are a juggernaut running away with the Central. Thank you, Rodney. Appreciate that. Thank you, Wayne. See how the Pods handle it here toward the end of the season. They have enough pitching. The Brewers are by far the best team in baseball. 76-44. Really? It's all that easily accessible alcoholic beverages right there. Thanks, Dwayne. Go Pods. Go Friars. Looking for that first World Series conquest. Motor City Kitties and the Blue Jays, by the way, two best records in the American League. Tigers are 70-52. The Blue Jays are 70-51. Yankees are just 7 over 500, 6 games back. But we're getting into the home stretch now, middle of August, September, baseball. We'll see how she all plays out. Good stuff. Big Al says, how do you make a career of songs like that and sound like a 12-year-old? Yeah, agreed. I don't understand. I'll never understand. I don't think Taylor Swift has any musical talent at all. We know she can't dance. All she does is embarrass herself out there in the jumpsuit trying to dance. I don't know what that is. Ooh. Dwayne says, and the Nats still suck. Yeah, it's not gone well for the Natties, huh? They're last place in the National League East. Won yesterday, though, Dwayne. Richard says, we celebrate the Reds in Cincinnati. Yes, you should. The oldest professional baseball team, the Cincinnati Redlegs. Still in the wild card hunt, right? Tough division, man. I'll tell you what, Milwaukee, Chicago, those Cubbies are pretty good too. Reds and there's the Cardinals. They're still 500. Interesting that, the Phillies are starting to surge too. Mets are 5 games back. But, I think it's wide open. I think the Brewers are the best team. Uh-oh, Sherry's mad at me now. She says there are lots of Swifties out there. Sherry, are you a Swiftie? Let me know if you're a Swiftie. Let's just put it this way. I'm not her demographic. Let's just put it that way. I thought so. I just got a news update here. Hang on, let me see if here. Let me find the breaking news banner here. Sherry, are you a Swiftie? I must have stepped on the Swifties' toes there. Explain if you are. Explain why you are. Please. Here we go. Can you see that? See it in the upper left? That little, yeah. The Radford Bobcats going to wear new patches on the jersey. I thought they would. It's going to have Coach Lindenberg's initials on it. But you need to go back to the big block numbers. I was able to change the helmet. I believe that BDST was a big impetus behind the Bobcats getting rid of those hideous, just horrible white helmets and going back to the black helmet as God intended. And what happened? They won a state championship. I didn't get a ring. That's a good look, though. I thought they would do that or maybe put coach's profile, but that's hard. But that looks good. That looks good, Richie. Thank you. Richie Davis, BDST legal counsel, still on the Bobcats coaching staff. I just wish they'd go back to the big block numbers that they used to have when I was calling you. I don't think there's a better looking number than the big block. You know what I'm saying. See your hair on Randy Gradishar's jersey. Now that's a smaller version, but you see that. That's pretty cool. Always big block numbers, man. We don't want we don't need those weird little sideways numbers. Yeah, don't get me started, Wayne, on baseball waiting until Pete Rose passed away to reinstate him. You can't make up how shady that was. You just can't. I saw it, Richie. Thank you. That looks good. It looks good, man. Thank you. Looks really good. Thank you so much for showing me that. Be an emotional year in Bobcat land here in 2025, to say the least. I believe it's pretty easy to know what the theme of that season's going to be. But that looks really good. I like that a lot. I do. Whole lot. Looks good. And a very good choice, by the way. Andy Bitter joins us here coming up at around 7. These first week times are not necessarily, and days are not necessarily where we're going to be, for the whole time. It's a little different here. You just kind of do things the way people can work it out. And, Andy's got young children going to school and so forth. But he will be here coming up a little after 7. So looking forward to that. David Teel and Dwight Vick. I mean, that is, if you are a sports show in the Commonwealth and you have those 3 people, you know what? That's as good as it gets. Not because of me at all. I'm not this guy. No. But because of the content that those guys bring. Sherry says, I'm not a Swiftie, but my daughter follows her. Yeah, see, there you go. See, I understand that part. She's in her 30s. She's in her 30s and not 14. I gotcha. Yes, she does. Sherry, you're 100% correct. The marketing team behind her is the true impetus behind her in lieu of any actual musical ability. Yes, you absolutely are on it 100%. If you were going to teach a marketing class, or if you had an up-and-coming young talent, you would go and you would say, we'd like to get them to come in as consultants, the Taylor Swift marketing team. Because what they've created out of that is mesmerizing, 100%. They're not getting paid enough money. Sherry says she does like to watch KC if she shows up. Well, you're going to get to see her. Lord knows they show her countless times. Roddy says, I'm not a fan of numbers the same color as the uniform with numbers outlined pencil on the back. Yeah, I don't like this whole numbers thing. It seems pretty simple to me, you know. I will do that, Richie. I will put that up later. I can't really do it right now. Thank you. I will show the new Bobcats jersey later on the BDST Facebook page, and I'll have it here for the show tomorrow morning. Tough to maneuver right now, but I will. Thank you. That looks good. Emotional time down in Radford. Beautiful service. Beautiful. Great to see so many people. Great to see all the brothers come in. You know, I work with Robert every day. You know, I had some great conversations after Coach had passed. It's emotional time when you lose your parents. Many of you have. You know exactly what I'm talking about. And, you know, I had a nice talk with Robert. He could kind of talk to me a little bit after I just lost Mom. And, you know, it's been 2 years now, but it feels like it was yesterday. So it's, you know, it's an enormous thing. Coach Hicks, you know, I don't know how many times, and everybody knows the Joel Hicks jogging group. He was running and winning marathons, right? So when I drive into Radford, he started coming down to Bissett Park and going through Dedman. As you circle around Dedman Center, go around Cup Stadium, and there was Coach. Coach always didn't really matter the temperatures. He'd be there in his shorts, no shirt, looked great, and he'd have his, you know, group with him. Sometimes it'd be 4 or 5 people. Sometimes it'd only be, you know, 1 or 2, maybe 3 with him. And I still, shortly after he passed, just like I did for several months with my mom, I would get on the phone and try to call. Oh, that's right, she's not there. I would always look for Coach, and I'd go, oh yeah, he's not here anymore. So I think we're going to be that way with Coach Lindenberg. He still went to every Bobcats game, got to see that state championship and how proud he was. He was part of the celebration. So glad he got to see all that. So it's going to be strange, high school football down at Radford here in the New River Valley without Coach Lindenberg. But what a legacy, what a life, what everything, Coach. Just, I think about him often. Thought about him often before, you know, he passed away and before he became ill, before, you know, Joanne got sick and got ill, because you just thought about things, and now you really think about it. And you wish you could go back to those days, but boy, oh boy, you're so glad that you had them to begin with. And, you know, that's what life is right there, the relationships. Sorry, I'm letting Andy know I just sent him the explanation. That's what's great. One thing about being live on camera, and I'm here for 2.5 hours without leaving. We're taking you behind the curtain. Taking you behind the curtain so you can see it. Wayne says the bikie shorts, how great were those? You knew if a coach was wearing those, you were in for a day. You knew that guy was a winner. You did. You knew that guy was a winner. Absolutely 100%. You do. If he had the bike shorts on, I think I called him Bikey, didn't I? The old Nike thing. The whole bike short, you knew. And that's what Coach Hicks every day. Never forget my sophomore, junior year. We had a hard time with Salem. That Salem Spartan team was pretty good in the late 80s. Don't know if you knew that. Salem Spartan football has been pretty successful. And I remember we were getting ready. We were suited up for practice. We were about 2 days away from the game, and it was for the district championship. And they were unbeaten. And we were sitting around, and nobody was in the room. Nobody was in the room. Just the players. I mean, we were there as a team. And where's the coaches, man? What's going on? We're ready to go, right? Let's go out here. Let's break down. Let's get on the field. Kept waiting. We just kept waiting. Well, about 20 minutes after we were supposed to start practice, you hear the coach's door open. They had a sign up on the door. It just had private. Comes out. Coach Hicks comes out, and he's got this look on his face like you would rarely see. We had a projector screen in front of the back wall. You had the lockers. If you've been around, remember Pulaski counties, if you're inside the old field house, the lockers would go around this way and kind of do like a U, right? All of our lockers were like that. And we're sitting there on a locker. And I believe I was a sophomore because I was on the end. I'd made travel team, but I was, fairly insignificant. Just fairly insignificant. And, I played special teams and I was backup, but, I wasn't that guy, I'm not Jack Turner, not Michael J. Smith or Johnny Johnson. No, but he comes in and I remember him coming down. He had his clipboard. He gritted his teeth. He slams down the clipboard. And I'm going to edit out some of the language. But he goes, "We are going to kick the out of Salem in 2 days. We have figured it out." And we're all just, so he goes up and he rolls out some things. And this is what we're going to do today. And this is what we've noticed, blah, 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 blah. Great practice. We go out, beat Salem. It's the infamous picture where carrying him off, Jack and Johnny Myers. The hand that he's holding behind Johnny Myers is me, my hand. That's my claim to fame in that picture. You just remember those things. It's the same thing, right? You just remember those little moments. What you can accomplish, what these guys were able to do, how much it meant to them, but it meant a lot to you because it meant so much to them. And you knew you were the vehicle for which they were using to accomplish this. That's how valuable coaches are, And I believe we have a lot of great coaches today that still have that. I don't know if they can see that, Richie. You see, here you go. Here's what can anybody see that? Yeah, I haven't had a chance to transfer it yet. But anyway, I'm going to post that in a better way. Yeah, I'll put those up. Thank you so much for that. That's cool. That's very cool. So, yeah, those moments, and I don't know what your moment may be if you were coached by Coach Lindenberg or Coach Ragsdale or Coach Christ or Winford Beal or anybody, any of those coaches. But you remember those moments and what it meant to you as a young person. And I will always treasure those times. And I know today it's different, man. You can't coach the same way. You can't. The approach that coaches have to take with young people because of the way things have evolved is to me, it always makes it an impossible job. And that's why I have so much respect for the men and women who are out there coaching at the high school level. It's here in 2025. Tip of the cap to you. Environments change so much, and there's so many people because of social media, because of watchdog, whatever, trying to get people in trouble. And I just you can't coach the same way. And I'm not saying that the way everything that happened back in the day was right. I mean, a lot of the punishment back in the day was what? You didn't get water, right? You didn't do things a certain way. You didn't get water. You didn't get water breaks. That today, that would be, it's unheard of. But I'm not saying everything made sense, but it was a different time and a different era. We all grow up in our own time and our own era. Our kids are growing up in their time, in their area. And to be honest, it frightens and confuses me. I'm just a caveman. But you have to recognize that era means something to that generation, just like ours did to us. So, any event, Coach Linderberg, you will be forever missed, and thank you for everything. Because a very young broadcaster at that time, you don't know what to expect from your first ever organization, production, blah, blah, blah. And he was just a godsend to be with. So be sure to like and subscribe and jump in and do those things and spread the word. Again, we've had a really good start to the first week here in this new format. Heard a lot of great people. Had a lot of great guests on, but you liking and subscribing and going in and being part of this is enormous to our cause here. And I don't think I can mention it enough. So be sure to jump in and do that. Join us in the chat room. Many of you are doing that already. The McClellan Chiropractic chat room. Jump in, be part of that. And also you can hit us up on our text line. It is open. A lot of folks are texting in this morning, 540-391-0788. All right. Coming up a little bit later on, David Teel will join us. I'm looking forward to that. Says he has to get his camera face on for later, as we all do. And then Dwight Vick will join us as well. But something that last couple of years when we were still in radio, you talk to a lot of good people who know things about stuff and also Virginia Tech. And there's few folks any better and more informed than Andy Bitter, who joins us now. He's the senior writer for Tech Sideline, the lead football beat writer. And AB, it's great to see you, man. And thanks for being part of the new format.
Yeah, no problem. I got to put my game face on here in the morning. I woke up like 5 minutes ago, so we'll see how bright and sunshiny I am this early.
No, you look great. You look great, man. And you've got now. Talk about your child situation. Getting older now through school, right? It's just getting underway.
Started fourth grade yesterday.
Wow.
So yeah, it's gone quick. It's a little you every now and then you look at Facebook, you're like, oh man, shoot, she has grown up very quickly here. So fourth grade, she's still sleeping. We'll get up here shortly, and I gotta rouse her to get her ready for the bus here in a little over an hour.
Okay, all right. Well, I'm taking my youngest to college tomorrow. My last one.
Oh,
so
wow.
It does fly. Yeah, it does fly. It absolutely flies. So that's great. Fourth grade. So you're still in the good years.
Yeah,
you're still in the fun times.
I'll savor it, I guess.
How many years now is this for you with Will at Tech Sideline?
Tech Sideline, this will be my third season.
Third full season. Okay, I wasn't sure. Okay, all right. Well, you've been there for for most of the Brent Pry era. A lot of things I want to cover with you. Going into this year, we know the stakes. I mean, we hear the rumblings and so forth. What kind of vibe have you gotten from your interaction around the coaching staff? I know practices are still, no look, no see for the most part, but what are you feeling when you talk to Coach Pry and how they feel about this season and what it means?
I think he's maybe energized or encouraged by the coordinator changes that they had. I know one was their choice. changing the defensive side. And then the other one kind of happened by chance after the everything kind of settled down. And then Tyler Bowen leaves for Ohio State. And you go, okay, well, here's a chance to revamp both sides of the ball, which is not ideal. If you're heading into season 4, you don't want to be changing both your coordinators at that point, and what probably is a do or die season for him. But I think he likes the hires that he made, and throw Matt Moore on the offensive line into that too. I know he's not a coordinator, but that's a critical hire in trying to get the success of this team going in the right direction. I think you can look at this situation and say they upgraded at both coordinator spots. I think defensively, certainly with the adjustments that Sam Seifkas has shown and the different versatility that he can show out there in the field, having done it before, even if briefly at a lower level in college, but he had done it before, something Chris Marv had never done. And then, offensively, there's not a situation that Philip Montgomery has not seen as an offensive coordinator. Where Tyler Bowen, I think he's a bright young coach. I don't think he was quite there yet as an offensive coordinator. Some games he was just, everything was hitting. Everything was working. He had it going. Then there were other games where stuff was thrown at him and it didn't look like they really adjusted or really didn't have a plan beyond what their initial thing was. I think you look at Clemson last year, for instance. And, Clemson is a great team, don't get me wrong, but they were kind of stymied by Clemson early and they just had no response to it. And Drones' injury had something to do with that too. But I think Philip Montgomery, you get him out there, he's going to be a guy that's like, okay, that's not working. I've got another thing to do here. I have another way to go. I've seen this before. I know how we can adjust to that. So I think those two things are reason for hope. And then Pry keeps talking about the depth of this team. They brought in a lot of transfers, and they weren't necessarily star transfers like they've done in the past. APR was a big name when he came in from Florida. Aeneas Peebles was a big name when he came in from Duke, an established all-ACC guy. Yeah. This year, a little less so, but Pry keeps touting the depth of this team, where you go, okay, we get to the second team, and all of a sudden you don't fall off a cliff there in terms of talent and what they're trying to do. So that has popped up the last couple of years. I think safety specifically has been a really tough spot depth-wise, and I think they have some guys this year that they could roll out second, maybe even to the third team, and still not lose complete faith in who you have out there on the field. So I think that'll be important, especially as injuries mount during the season. But does that add up to a great season for this team? I don't know. I just haven't seen enough of this team to have that firm of an opinion.
It was interesting. You talk about the depth, but it doesn't seem to be, at least just listening to some of the guests this week, at the quarterback situation, because both Bill Roth and Mike Burnett both said Kyron Drones has to stay upright this year for this team. And I know that's always the case. Every team across the country, you can't lose your starting quarterback. I get it. It felt like there's not a lot of confidence there behind Kyron Drones. What have you seen and heard from the guys who are, Pop Watson and so forth, that are trying to populate that rotation?
You haven't seen a whole lot, just sort of one-on-one drills. Saw a little bit of that with wide receivers, DBs the other day. I think, Pop is getting used to a new system, and Rangel, who came in and maybe has a little bit more familiarity with what the type of offense that Montgomery wants to run is new to Virginia Tech. So he's getting used to the personnel. So I think that's the issue between those two, and we'll see. And I don't really know how it's playing out. I haven't gotten an indication from the coaches one way or another, but I think, this offense, this team obviously is at its best when Drones is on the field. He's the guy who has the highest ceiling. He has the experience. If you're going to make a leap from 6-6, or hopefully make an improvement from that, it's got to be with your star quarterback playing like a star. And if they can get him to play like his 2023 self at the end of the year, I think they're in good shape. If he's banged up or trying to be what he was early last year, that's a different matter. I think Drones recognizes that, and he went out there, and I think he was kind of ticked off at how he played early in the season last year. And then he got hurt. So, everybody looks at last season like, oh, he was horrible last season. It's like, well, he kind of turned it around there for a couple games. Miami, BC, or Miami, Stanford, BC, and then he gets hurt. And then it was sort of a lost season after that, and he's trying to battle through that stuff. So, if he can get back to that 2023 level, I like the Hokies' chances this year.
Would you label him a disappointment overall? since he's gotten here because of the fact you mentioned he hasn't been able to stay on the field for the entirety of a season.
No, I don't think I would, because that 2023 was so groundbreaking for this team. When it turned the tide of the season and really for Pry's tenure, it was looking rough there for a while, and then all of a sudden, they're on a roll. They're a solid team and has an offense that can beat you running the ball and throwing the ball a bit. So again, I'd like to see him healthy for a full season and out there on the field. And I think the talent is evident. Now, can Philip Montgomery go in there and get the most out of his passing? I think that's the key to this whole thing. And that's a coordinator who hasn't experienced it. I mean, he coached a Heisman Trophy winner, Robert Griffin III. So he's got some experience, and even beyond that, a bunch of other guys in his history that have put up huge passing numbers. Can they tap into Kyron Drones' passing ability and make him a more efficient passer? I don't think he's going to go out there and throw for 300 plus yards a game, but I don't think he needs to. I think that's not his style, but he needs to be efficient with his passing. He needs to go to the right spots and complete passes when they need to.
Andy Bitter joining us this morning, first week of the new show from Tech Sideline. Bayshore Tootin no longer around. We know how good he was, and he's already off to a good start in the preseason, the next level. Lots of different names back there. Is that going to be, in your opinion, more of a running back by committee, you think, or is there one guy you think can come in and kind of take the bulk of that? Because that's going to be a weapon this offense is really going to miss. Yeah,
I think it's going to be a group of guys. Pry mentioned that he'd probably envision 3 guys getting touches back there. I'll say, though, every time we talk to anybody, Marcellus Hawkins' his name comes up first. And then they put a little clip out of him yesterday hurdling a defender in an Oklahoma style drill or whatever it is, leaping over him. And it's like, oh man, that was impressive. It sounds like he slimmed down from the spring. He was a little nicked up in the spring, dropped about 10, 15 pounds. So he's sleeker, faster. And I think of all the guys, he might have the potential to step to the front of that group. I don't think that means he's going to get 260 carries or whatever Bayshore got last year, but I think he has a chance to be the most well-rounded of that group. Terrion Stewart, sort of a bowling ball of a back. I think he will get a lot of carries if he can stay healthy. He was already nicked up a little bit. Braden Bennett also nicked up a little bit at the moment, but he's sort of a pass-catching type guy. PJ Preload coming back from an Achilles injury, which is incredible. Good. I mean, 10 months ago coming back from an Achilles injury, he seemed like he could contribute last year. I feel like those are the main contenders. I guess Jeremiah Coney in there as well. I don't get the sense that they're maybe as high on him as they are on some of these transfers, but there's a limit to how many guys can contribute out of that group. I think 3 of them probably step up, but right now, I mean, my money's on Marcellus Hawkins being the first guy out there.
What about the wide receiver room? Can talent lost out of there? Because Ollie Jennings never could really get it going in Blacksburg. Has there been a name you've heard that's kind of separated themselves a little bit?
I think they're high on Donovan Green. I think there's a reason they sent him to the ACC kickoff as one of the people to speak there. Just his issue has always been health. Can he stay on the field? If he's on the field, he's one of the more productive receivers in the ACC. He's just never had that really long stretch of durability that these other guys. I mean, I think this is his 7th year in college. Just COVID year, injuries, red shirts, and everything. I mean, he's been around a while. So he's seen a lot too. So I think in the right situation and the right health, he could be a guy. I'm curious to see who else is there. Aiden Green, I think, has the potential. Just hasn't done it a whole lot on the field. Cam Seldon's moving to a new position, so you always kind of wonder how that's going to go for him. They're bringing up Takai Heath's name a lot in the slot. He's somebody who, when he got on the field 2 years ago, they're like, we're going to play him this year as a true freshman at Rutgers, and I think he broke his wrist on the very first play that he took, and that set him back that year. Never was quite healthy last year. They're saying good things about him. He seems to be sort of turning the corner and possibly into a role that they have here. So they're going to need some guys to step up. I don't think it's an obvious top 4 like they had last year. Then again, I don't think the top 4 last year really produced like they hoped.
No.
And then and that's not on them necessarily, because obviously Jalen Lane is a talent. I mean, look at what he's doing in Commanders camp right now.
Yeah.
Gosnell had some excellent production, and he's made some plays at Bills camp right now. I think you look at that whole thing and you go, well, did they have the right kind of coordinator and offense to get those guys the ball? Because it felt like they were underutilized based on the talent that they're showing now at the next level.
Well, and just listening to you describe it, Andy, you can hear it. I mean, there's a lot of different options there. That's something that we haven't really talked about. I'm blown away that the consensus seems to be that you lose the entire offensive line from a year ago and all the new guys, because you mentioned Coach Brooks. All of a sudden, there's a lot of optimism, right, about the offensive line. They seem to have that unit set, at least the starters.
Yeah, I'll believe that when I see it. I feel like I've heard this story before with the Virginia Tech offensive line. It's like, they're really gelling. This is the best they've been. It's like, okay, I got to see it on the field. And they might have a 5 that they have, but that might just be because those are the 5 that are clearly better than the others. And Brody Meadows is hurt right now, so he's not even really in the conversation. I think they have a good coach in Matt Moore, just based on his history and the kind of production and players that he's put out there. I also wonder how quickly that comes together. Can you do that in one off season? And sure, it helps that he brought 4 guys with him from West Virginia, and 2 of them are going to start in Remack and Altuner. So I think that helps you get along there. But Montavious Cunningham's expected to play a big role in this offensive line. He didn't really play last year. Now the coaches are talking about him like he's made a huge breakthrough and most improved player in the spring, and we talked to him yesterday. So I think there's hope there, but it didn't really happen last year. Leif Gannon was a guy who's blue chip guy when they recruited him. Didn't really happen for him last year. Johnny Garrett's been on the field. He's played all right, but he's not a sure thing in this spot. So I look across that line and I see several not sure things. So I'm going to have to see how it comes together on the field, especially, you go out there in the opener against South Carolina and the SEC, speed and power going across you. All right, let's see how it goes first before we've said that this is turning a corner and this is a much better group.
Right. Andy Bitter joining us on the program, the lead football writer for Tech Sideline, as the Hokies are getting ready now, a couple weeks out in Shane Beamer and South Carolina. The vibe around Coach Pry recognizing, and I know a lot of it was out of necessity and maybe he was kind of pushed to do it, but I think it's a very positive thing to see a coach not just set, on what he brought in to begin with. A lot of inexperience. You and I talked. Maybe he should have had somebody with more experience there as a coordinator, but to see that he's adjusted like that and brought new people in, I think that's a positive thing, right, about the guy and his overall view of what has to happen with this program.
Yeah, I think so. He was a first-time head coach. You're going to make mistakes, and I think he probably did with these coordinator hires. A lot of people didn't second-guess those situations. They first-guessed them. When they made them, they go, you're right. Your first-time head coach, you're hiring 2 32-year-old coordinators who have never done it before. Now, in his defense, in his mind, he's going, well, defensively, I'm going to bring Marv along. I'm the defensive coordinator, basically, and I'm going to teach this guy how to do it. He's somebody I've coached, and he's a smart young coach. Just didn't work out that way. So he had a plan for the defensive side. And then offensively, he goes, well, we're going to hire Brad Glenn. We're going to hire Joe Rudolph, and they have coordinated experience. They're going to help Tyler Bowen go on. And then after 1 year, they both left. So, threw a wrench into his plans on how to develop a young coordinator like that. But, I think this shows that maybe he's growing as a coach and he's identifying what they need to do. You would hope so for $4.5 million a year, whatever he's getting paid at this stage. Yeah. But, better now than never in this whole situation. We'll see if it shows up on the field.
It's going to be a big presentation coming up with Whit Babcock. How much pressure do you think's on him as well for this football season?
Enormous pressure. All these guys have to win. I think if they don't, and it doesn't work out with Pry, you don't let Whit Babcock hire a third football coach.
Right.
And really, if you look at his track record, you go back to Cincinnati when he hired Tommy Tuberville. It's not been a great track record of hires on the gridiron here. And, it's not all his fault. who would have looked at the Justin Fuente hire and said that was bad, especially after 2 years. He's 19-8.
Right.
They kept Bud Foster. It looked like it was the perfect hire, and then it just didn't work out. It was a personality thing, or the hirings he made as assistant coaches just didn't have the institutional support. There's all sorts of blame to go around on this whole thing. I think if it doesn't work out with Pry, then, Witt's probably out too at that point. You give somebody new a chance to hire a new football coach, but that's a messy situation. How do you do that? You'd have to get rid of Witt early and then get an interim AD in to make the decision on Pry. And then I just don't even know the order you would do that. How do you do that orderly, in the fall and make a good football hire, or at least one you'd feel confident in. If you had to replace the football coach. So there's a lot of people in Merriman that need a good football season. They need this football program to be good for not only their job security, but for the financial health of this entire program. That's a big part of Witt's presentation is, look at where Virginia Tech is financially in the ACC. And especially now that these revenues are being based off success and viewership in a lot of ways. You need to be good. You need to be on TV. You need to be drawing eyeballs. Otherwise, it's going to cost you financially. And if not, you're not going to be in the top half of the ACC. And if Virginia Tech's not in the top half of the ACC from the football and basketball viewership numbers, then they're in rough shape because they're not getting the money in other ways like a lot of schools are.
Well, the good news is the schedule, I know the first one's going to be fun to watch with the team who's 13 in the country, but the schedule sets up, they really can get off to a good start, potentially, right, if things fall in line.
Yeah, I mean, last year they could have got off to a good start too. I think I looked at last year's non-conference schedule. I go, if they don't start 4-0, I don't know what they're doing, and then they go and they're terrible at Vanderbilt, and you go, well, and then they lose to Rutgers, and you go, okay, really overshot it with the 4-0 prediction with that when they come out 2-2. So. I'm a little hesitant to be like, well, this sets up for them. It's like a lot of things set up for you, but you got to be a good team to take advantage of that. I don't know how good this team is. I mean, everybody in the offseason is asking me, it's like, well, is this team actually going to be okay? And I don't know. They have 30 transfers and 19 freshmen. They have almost 50 new players on this team, and you're sitting here trying to figure it out. And we haven't seen any practice. I mean, I
don't get that.
I'm telling you, we have not seen an 11-on-11 rep since the Duke's Mayo Bowl, and we won't until the season starts. I guarantee you that. They're not going to show us a single thing. So, I mean, I sort of have an idea of the alignment they'll even come out on, but I don't know. I think Cephas is going to do a lot of stuff on defense, and I really have no clue. You'd have to go back and base it on his time with the Vikings and the Cardinals and what he did at Wofford. It's just a really impossible task, and that's intentional on their part. They don't want South Carolina knowing what they're going to do, but
true.
It makes it very tough if you're a writer following the team going, no, this is how good this team will be. I really don't know.
You think that'll ease up, Eddie? I get it. Like you're saying, I get to a certain degree first game. I get it. But, man, why wouldn't you let guys come in here and just check out the team? I mean, I don't know.
Well, that's sort of their nature. At a certain point, you're going to have to put a defense on the field on national TV, and everybody sees what you're going to do. The secret is out at that point. So there's only so much you can do in secrecy, but that's, these football coaches are paranoid. They think it gives them the ultimate edge. They're reinventing the wheel every day at practice. I don't think it's quite that case, but you're not going to convince them otherwise to do it.
Well, looking at the league, before we let you go, AB, you were down at the kickoff, and Clemson. My goodness, is this a team coming off a national championship? Because all of a sudden Clemson's being spoken about like they were a few years ago. What about them separates them, and how do you look at the upper half and then everybody else in the conference?
Yeah, I think with Clemson, it's obvious what everybody likes. I mean, their defense is always really good. They've got dudes on that side of the ball, and they have a quarterback who was excellent last year. I kind of ragged on Klubnik like a lot of people before last year. I don't think he was really living up to the hype, but last year he was awesome. I mean, he put up crazy numbers, and it looks like they finally have some receivers to go with it. I mean, that was always one thing with Clemson for a while there, is they had a bunch of good receivers, then they all left. And then there was a stretch there where they didn't really have the weapons that you're like, man, these guys could beat you downfield. And I feel like they have that now, the way they've recruited. I want to say they brought in some transfers finally. This thing called the transfer portal that Dabo Swinney has finally discovered. I think they have some explosiveness on offense now. They don't just have to beat you with their defense. And you look at their situation compared to everybody else in the ACC, there's a lot of projection for every other team in the ACC other than Clemson, it feels like. And, I mentioned Virginia Tech having all the transfers. There's like 5 or 6 teams in the ACC that have that many. I mean, North Carolina, I have no idea. Good luck figuring that. I think they had 41 transfers or something like that. UVA's got a ton of transfers. Cal, Louisville brings in a ton of transfers every year. So it's just very tough year to year now to predict who's going to be good. And it used to be, you go, how many returning starters do you have? What kind of production do you have coming back? And you kind of have a sense of how they recruit and how that'll do. And now they brought in all these guys from, all conference guys from the Sun Belt or something like that. So I don't know how those are going to adapt to the ACC and how they're going to fit into this system. So it's a lot harder with the projections now. And I think you get past the top couple teams and you exclude the top bottom teams, probably like, 4 through 13 in the ACC. I picked the Hokies 9th, but they could be a lot higher than that or a lot lower than that. It wouldn't surprise me because there's just so much variance of those teams in the sort of the muck, the middle of the ACC.
I wonder who gave them the number 1 vote. Do you know?
No idea, but they must have been on some sort of hallucinogen down there in Charlotte. I don't know if they visited a nearby smoke shop or something like that, whether they got the good stuff. But, hey, maybe Virginia Tech wins it. That person looks like a genius, and then they come out of the woodwork.
Hey,
told you. That was me.
Told you.
I mean, a couple years ago, if you voted Pitt number 1 in 2021, that people would have looked at you like you were crazy. So I try not to rag too much on the outlier picks.
Well, that's fair.
Like what's the point of doing the preseason poll if everybody's just going to pick the same thing?
Right.
And, I got to the end of it. I'm like, I picked Clemson SMU in a rematch. Like, that's so boring. That's kind of that's really a wuss pick to go back and pick a rematch of the thing. That's just how I felt. So I wish I was a bit more bold. I don't know if I need to be as bold as picking Virginia Tech to win the conference, but
right.
Hey, if they do it, that person's going to be able to hold a parade for having the foresight to see it.
Hey, one more, because I got a couple of Carolina fans on the text line. Can you ask Andy his overall take, just his general impression of this whole Bill Belichick experiment down in Chapel Hill?
When he signed there, I said it'll be for a year and then he's back in the NFL. But I kind of think the NFL is done with him at this point. I think they look at all of the off-field stuff and they go, why are we going to put up with that? And this whole mess that he's got going on there. The NFL is a non-distractions league, and he seems to have a lot of distractions, which is weird for the coach famously who never had any distractions, who was all about business and football. Right. And now he's on like social media, and his girlfriend is 50 years younger than him at this point. It's just a weird situation. I mean, he's a great football coach, and even if he's not at the tip top of his game like he was at the height of the Patriots, he's going to coach circles around a lot of these college coaches. If he and Pry were to go head to head, I would take Belichick every day of the week and twice on Sunday in that matchup. They don't play this year, but I think just that his base level is just going to be such an upgrade compared to what a lot of these college coaches can bring, that I think he'll bring a discipline and a focus to this team that perhaps has not been there in the past. That said, I don't know how he's going to relate to these college players like this. I don't know how the Belichick attitude of, you sign these free agents and you hear Tom Brady and who was the receiver up there that they had talking about the attitude they take is like, well, we don't even know if we really want you here. Like, you got to go out there and do your job. Edelman was saying that we don't even know if we really want you here. It's like, well, what college kid wants to hear that when everybody is telling them
that's true,
God's gift to the game? So how is that going to work in recruiting? I guess the money side of it now kind of makes up for that. We don't know if we really want you, but here's $500,000. I think that convinces you that you do want them there. But I think relating to 20 or 18 to 22-year-old players is going to be something I will watch, and we'll see how this works out. I don't think it'll be just a failure. I think some people think it'll be like that. I don't think it'll be bad, but I don't think he's going to go like 10-2 or something this year. It'll probably be 7-5, 8-4, like decent season. That's sort of what Mac Brown was doing for a while there too, though. I don't know if it elevates the program that much.
Right. Well, as Richard just said in the chat, it's going to be very interesting. Those post-game press conferences should be fun and interesting, right?
They should be. I don't know if they'll be fun. I think they'll be interesting. I think it'll be him kind of mumbling along. I mean, we saw him at the ACC kickoff, and it was – first of all, I think it was somebody set up the question. Somebody asked some question about fullbacks. It's like, what? What are you doing? You're just teeing this up for him to nerd out on fullbacks. And he's like, well, Don Coryell did this, and he went into this, like the history of the fullback. And I'm like, okay, that was a setup. This whole thing was set up from the start for him to just do his Belichickian talking about stuff. But he delivered. He gave exactly what he wanted. It was like a 4-minute dialogue about the evolution of the fullback position, and people were eating it up. So he's going to be himself. I don't think you're going to all of a sudden see this. Different coach personality wise or anything like that. I just wonder if his style works in the college game, especially the modern college game.
Well, AB, good stuff as always, man. And thank you for taking time. Look forward to having you on. And I've already had people ask, we're going to wait on Andy's win prediction here. We'll go through the games with Andy. You want to know the Virginia Tech prediction. So we'll hold off on that when we have more time. But
that's good. I'm still waffling between a couple predictions. So
there you go. You need a little more time.
I can nail it down. Yeah, well, I'm trying to base it off the limited practice that we see on the team, how good I think this team will be.
Well, maybe you know more after you get to see the scrimmage this week. Oh,
yeah, right.
That's right.
I'll know more after Fan Day on Friday when we get to talk to him next.
All right, man. Well, good stuff. And have a great week with your daughter going back to school, man. And we'll talk next week.
All right. Sounds good.
Appreciate you, man. Good stuff. There you go. That's Andy Bitter. Good stuff, man, as always. My goodness, in midseason form, Andy Bitter. It's got to be frustrating. Right? Yeah, let's give Andy a big round of applause. That's terrific. Yeah. David Teel will join us when he's available to join us coming up here. So we're looking forward to that. It's got to be frustrating when you're sitting there and you're trying to cover the team, and you can't really cover the team because you don't get to see them. You don't get to see them. We are broadcasting live here on this Thursday, day 4 of the new program from the Family Fencing Studios here in Reiner. And if you are tired of staring at that old worn-out fence or no fence at all, let Family Fencing give you and your yard the upgrade that it deserves. Their no-dig installation system is awesome. It's a strong, beautiful fence with no holes, no mess in your yard, no damage. They're locally owned fence experts here in the NRV, Southwest Virginia, specializing in aluminum, vinyl, wood, and chain link for residential, commercial, and agricultural fencing. They have finance options available as well. Get your free quote today, Family Fencing, 540-200-8294, or visit familyfencingnrv.com. Family Fencing, building better fences, no digging required. We appreciate them. The first official sponsors of the new program. We have a big sponsorship announcement that we're going to make on Monday here on the show. So we're looking forward to that. And thanks to Mark Hunley and McClellan Chiropractic. They are sponsors of our chat room. Many of you are in the chat room and like that. I really appreciate the text line stuff. I do. But the chat room is really cool. I can just see it. I don't have to look down at my phone and so forth. So it's nice. Very, very nice. So appreciate you all. Spread the word. Subscribe, like, share. It's a necessity in this format. So please do it. Got to build this thing. We can build this thing here in Southwest and Central Virginia, New River Valley, beyond Roanoke Valley, the world here on YouTube. Anybody can chime in. Anybody can just hit click, find the show. Big Dog Sports Talk with Rick Watson, DAWG. So we can do that here, build it from the NRV. It can happen, and it will happen because you are the smartest listening audience in radio, and you're more important now than you ever have been before, ever. Matthew asks, is there any kind of benefit to a program not letting the local media see scrimmages? Just, Matthew, that's a great question. And, being part of media, I get frustrated too. And you can sense it there, Andy's frustration. I get it. No, coaches don't owe access. They don't they don't owe the media access, but that's kind of been Brent Pry's mindset and policy since he got here. Whether you agree with it or not, that's a different story. Maybe it depends on first opponents. I don't know. You heard Andy say they want to keep everything pretty close to the vest. And we heard Bill Roth and Mike Burnup say it too this week. First opponent and brand new coordinators, there's no idea from Shane Beamer's crew what Virginia Tech might do. I think there's some value to that. I really do. So this whole thing is going to be unleashed when everybody else sees it, when they line up for that first series, whether they're on offense to start the game or whether they're on defense. No, Wayne, the new sponsorship announcement is not Impossible Burger. Is that still a thing, by the way, the Impossible Burger? I hope not. By the way, I'm going to owe Neil Leahy a steak dinner here at the house. Neil came in, spent a lot of this past weekend helping me get everything in order. We had some issues there. It took some time because I switched studio mechanisms here by adding. This is called, what you're seeing me on is YouTube, obviously, but it works into the mechanism and the algorithm fits into. It's called StreamYard, and I had to get a whole new system because the one I was planning on doing the show, it just completely popped out. Okay, so Burger King still has the Impossible Burger. Okay, but I owe Neil steak dinner, and I know Neil has eaten steak before, but I want to see what he thinks of my steak. And I'm going to tell you right now, I'm going to be very open about something I have planned here. If this thing continues to do well, I've talked about it, back on the radio show. We are going to have the meetup here at the Watson House for a college football Saturday. And we're going to grill. We're going to have some adult beverages. Maybe we'll do that if I ever get T-shirts. People can come and they can, buy their T-shirts. I don't know. But we're going to do that here. And, now with this channel, see, this is where I'm going with this. There's going to be a lot of days coming up that I can do this anytime that I want. Anytime. So in other words, if we're on a Saturday and I talk to Dwight, for instance, and we want to go live, you know what? We can just go live. I'll put a message up on social medias, and we're just sitting here talking about football. Well, the day we have the grill out, we can do that. We can just have the camera rolling. All right? Anyway, I really think that's going to be my plan. Don't know when yet, but I think that's what's going to happen. Have the peeps over, and we're just going to go nuts. Just going to go nuts. In a good way, not in a irresponsible way, but in a good way. David Teel will join us here in just a little bit, around 7:40 or so. And then Dwight Vick. Can't wait to see both of those gentlemen. It's been too long. David Teel, the multiple Hall of Fame participant, the best writer of Virginia sports, covering Virginia sports ever. And sorry, I'm texting Dwight Vick right now just to let him know we're good to go. Just send him the link for 8 o'clock. So I'm looking forward to talking to that. David Teel is just, he's a plethora of knowledge, and I want to get his take on all these things with with Virginia Tech and their team and the ACC, obviously we branch out a little bit more with David. I want to ask him about the league, but this whole proposal coming up on the 18th, that's Monday, by the way, right? That is Monday coming up. And this thing has taken on a life of its own. Thank you, Jeff. Jeff says a Saturday night tailgate here at the house would be awesome. Tailgate show would be awesome. Yeah, maybe just what I'm saying. We could open up. We could have people come in the chat room. We could watch the game together. Would you like that, by the way? Would you like to have a show? Now, I can't show the game legal, but we will all be watching it. What do you think? Do like a live game watch party? Let's say Virginia Tech's playing out of town Saturday night. Nobody, you can't go. And you could have the game on, and we could just have people commenting. We just watch the game. I've watched. There's a lot of channels like that. It's really kind of cool. It's kind of fun. You think that would go over? Would y'all like that? I mean, I know you're watching your game and you don't want to be bothered, right? Because I know that's how I am when I'm watching the Broncos. I don't do a lot of interacting, but that might be fun on during a college football Saturday. So if y'all would like that, let me know. But I think if we do have the grilling meetup here, I think that's one you just carry the camera around and you just record the whole thing. Wayne has been eliminated from coming because he said he will bring the salad. So he has now been eliminated from admission. I mean, if we have somebody down at the bottom of the driveway letting people in, pulling the rope back, if you don't present a soon-to-be grilled or prepared meat, you can't get in. You just can't get in. You're limited. You'll know it's Wayne because not only will he have salad, he'll have Taylor Swift blaring from his radio. Ryan Price says he'll bring the Impossible Burgers. Well, no. See, I think that'd be fun. That'd be fun. I don't care if people know where I live. It's fine. I'm an empty nester. Kids are gone. Hey, come on. Maybe it'll help counter the loneliness I'm going to have. I don't know. Maybe we can do that. Yeah, we can get some people on. Yeah. I don't know. This is future plans. See, we can do anything you want. There's already some stuff planned outside of the morning show here on this format, which is really cool. All right, you can do anything you want. There's going to be some recorded things we're going to upload. We got a couple shows in the mix here coming up. Don't want to reveal those yet. But, man, there's a whole lot that you can to do with this format. And what the best part is, with the reaction and the support I've gotten already from our sponsors here in the community and beyond, nobody can tell me no. I don't have to worry about programming times other than this one. I'm trying to keep this one as consistent as possible. But I don't have to worry about, no, sorry, I can't do that. No. The first separate show we're going to be doing is, 4th and Goal with Jermaine. That's coming up. High school football. Like we've done before. And that'll be uploaded to the channel. Anything we do will be uploaded, be right there populating on Big Dog Sports Talk. So you can find it. Okay? So it's easy. No Hokey Bob, no quinoa. Hit us up on the McClellan Chiropractic chat room. Yes, now it is bring your own. Well, it's BYOB and BYOM if we do the meetup because I don't mind cooking it. And you know what? You have free run too. However you want to prepare it, the grill is there. I'll provide the propane and propane accessories. That was terrible. King of the Hill, right? Bobby, I sell propane and propane accessories. Wasn't that just, isn't there like a new one? New King of the Hill? Going right now? Man, I love King of the Hill. Anyway, bring your own meat because won't be preparing that myself. No, I will not. But in any event, I'm getting a lot of great response here, both via the text line and here in the chat room about the meetup. But we'll talk more about that because now we don't want to waste the time anymore of the next gentleman joining us on the program. Oh, my goodness. It's great to see his face. The Hall of Famer, David Teel, joining us. David, good morning. Welcome to the new format, my friend. How are you?
Welcome back, Rick. Glad to see you.
It's good to be back. You look great, by the way. My goodness.
I don't know about that. I had to put a hat on at this hour. Got some bedhead going on, man.
Well, I'm casual today. I've been the first 3 shows. I had my work attire on. Now, I know it's been a big week for you because Tiny Teel going back to school. You're dealing with that. I'm taking my youngest to college tomorrow. Wow. So I'm taking the next 2 days off. So we've both got school things going on too.
We do. Yeah. Tiny Teel started high school yesterday.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yep.
How'd that happen?
Exactly. I'm wondering. My wife and I are wondering the same thing.
Well, congratulations. You're in almost the final stage of that now, 4 more years. Man, a lot going on. I want to get right into it because it hadn't happened yet. But Monday's a huge day for Whit Babcock.
Yeah.
And what have you learned about all this? And if you could summarize, you've been writing about it, of course, covering it, but what can Tech fans expect? And what have we learned so far about some of these numbers going into this?
Well, it's essentially Whit Babcock's message to the Board of Visitors, as it has been for some time. This is just going to be a formal presentation, is athletics needs help from campus to pay for the new era of revenue sharing with athletes. Now, what form that help from campus will be remains to be announced, to be determined. Campus has already increased student fees by 65%, which provides an annual $10 million to the athletic department. But there's a bill pending before Congress called the SCORE Act that would prohibit schools from using student fees to pay for athletics.
Oops.
Yes, oops. Now, the chances of passage, according to those who follow such things on Capitol Hill, are fairly slim on the Senate side. It could very well pass the House. But if this measure became law, Tech would have to go back to scratch and start anew. But there are other ways that Whit Babcock will outline to the board, including debt relief. Last year, the athletic department paid more than $6 million in debt service.
Wow.
There is salary relief. Staff and coaching salaries cost the Hokies more than $47 million last year. Could campus take on some or all of that obligation? Those are among the possibilities that Whit will outline to the board.
And am I correct was the assessment I saw that Tech is 10th of the public schools right now in those dollars, in the overall dollars, what they have?
No, among the ACC's public schools.
Yeah.
Among the ACC's public schools. Tech was ahead, I believe, of only NC State when it came to athletics revenue. And when I was talking with Whit and Danny White, one of his lieutenants who oversees the Hokie Club last week, they made it clear that the Hokie Club needs to do its part and start raising more money. In fiscal 25, they raised a total of $43 million. That's not enough. Whit's goal is to up that by $20 million per year. Incrementally, I don't think anyone expects that it's going to happen overnight.
Right.
But they really want to get into the $60 million a year range for donations.
Well, it's going to be very interesting to see the aftermath of that. And this is a public thing, so people can keep up with it, right? You're not going to have a lot of guesswork. People can find out what's going on, on Monday.
Well, the slideshow that Whit will present to the board has already been public. That's just, Tech has to, put those materials online. And yes, the meeting Monday will be public. My plan tentatively is to be there, more so to see and listen to board reaction to Witt's presentation.
Well, we will definitely be keeping an eye on that, and David will have it covered verbatim. The ACC, you're at the ACC media kickoff. Always like to get a health check report on their football side of things. What's your vibe? Obviously, I guess 2, even 3 teams kind of stood out a little bit, but Clemson's getting that vibe back a little. SMU's right there. What's your take when you're down there talking to people around the league and the health of the league going into 2025?
You mean aside from the Bill Belichick circus? Right?
We'll talk about that. Yeah, but other than that, what do you like? What do you like about what the league's offering competitively?
Well, Belichick could be part of the league's assets if he is indeed determined to make it work on the college level, or is this just his way of trying to get back to the NFL? We can go back and forth on the cynicism there. But Clemson, the overwhelming choice of the media, more than 90% of the ballots tab the Tigers to win the league. Clemson, Miami, SMU, Louisville, Georgia Tech. I think all 4 of those squads have legitimate college football playoff aspirations. And, the league is stacked again at quarterback, and no shortage of storylines. And we're going to find out a ton, Rick, week 1.
Yeah, we are.
7 non-conference games against Power 4 opponents. All 7 of those opponents won at least 8 games last season, including the Gamecocks, whom the Hokies play in Atlanta.
The stories there are mounting. The emotions I know Shane Beamer has to have for that game. I mean, I know Tech's got new coordinators. They're keeping things close to the vest, shutting down their practices for the media, but he's not going to know what he's going to see, but he's sure as heck going to know what that game's going to mean, right, when he takes on his former squad.
He already knows. I spent a couple hours with Shane down in Columbia last week, and it was interesting. He'll be ready. He'll have his team ready. They have got all the pieces in place at South Carolina: facilities, administrative support. He's recruited well. Obviously, in Lenora Sellers, he returns an accomplished quarterback. The Gamecocks are number 13 in both of the major preseason polls. They were right on the cusp of the CFP last year.
Yeah,
if they reverse either of those 1-score losses, they're probably in. So South Carolina, a fascinating story entering the season.
David Teel joining us here on the new program here on YouTube. Glad you're chiming in. You have a question or comment, send it to us on the McClellan Chiropractic chat line. Besides, those certain teams that you talked about, Virginia Tech's 11th, do you see one of those teams? And you're right, it could be a Carolina. I mean, Bill Belichick, Andy just pointed out, he's going to outcoach a lot of coaches in the ACC, right?
Oh, one would think. But, Rick, the Tar Heels have 70 new players on the roster.
That's amazing.
That is a ridiculous number, none of whom have ever played a snap for Bill Belichick.
Right.
So it's favorable schedule aside, it's hard for me at least to envision the Tar Heels making a lot of noise in the league. Now, could they go 8-4 in that range? Sure. But contending for the league title, I have my doubts. If you're looking for a dark horse, Duke is among 3 ACC programs that have won at least 8 games each of the last 3 years. The others are Clemson and Louisville. But Manny Diaz can coach defense.
He can.
They went out in the portal and got Darian Mensah, the quarterback from Tulane. The Blue Devils are going to be good. Now, the schedule's rough, but I think they've got a chance now. If somebody asked me for somebody or for a team coming off the radar, Blue Devils would probably be it.
Okay, all right, that's kind of that's a good choice, dark horse, and we know what they stake this year in Blacksburg for both Brent Pry and Whit Babcock. What about Tony Elliott? Came in at the same time as Brent Pry.
Yeah,
it's the same deal. Right?
Came in the same time and has a much less accomplished resume over those 3 seasons. And the Cavaliers have been very open and in some cases proud of the money they spent in the offseason to go get 32 transfers. And among them, Chandler Morris, the quarterback from North Texas and the son of former Clemson OC and SMU head coach Chad Morris. Put up big numbers at North Texas. Does that translate to UVA in the ACC? We're about to find out. And yeah, a huge season for Tony Elliott. And Rick, if not now, when for the Cavaliers? Virginia is the only team in the ACC that does not play Clemson, SMU, or Miami.
Oh, wow.
If you look at the bottom of last season's standings, Virginia plays all 4 teams that were at the bottom of the league standings. The schedule is right there. It is very manageable. And, anything shy of bowl eligibility in Charlottesville, I think, would be a massive disappointment.
Well, and finally, David, Miami, are we going to be like Axel Foley? We're not going to fall for the banana in the tailpipe again? Because I'm not – I see where everybody's saying about them, and I see where they're ranked. And, okay, Mario, your move, right?
Well, and mentioning Mario Cristobal, Rick, is absolutely appropriate because, as we've seen, he and his staff managed to mangle the ends of games, as much, if not more so, than Brent Pry and the Hokies have.
Yeah, true.
So he's got some proving to do as a game manager and a head coach, but there is talent there. And if Carson Beck is healthy, now that is a massive if. If that elbow is good to go and sturdy and dependable throughout the season, then, man, they got a chance. And they may, perhaps their biggest offseason acquisition was Corey Heatherman, the defensive coordinator from Minnesota, whose group absolutely suffocated a very depleted Virginia Tech team in the Duke's Mayo Bowl, injuries, opt-outs, and such.
Right.
But Minnesota was a top 10 defense last year. And folks talk about the difference in resources between the Big Ten and the ACC. Well, Miami went out and spent, and they went and got Corey Heatherman from Minnesota to right that defensive ship. And watching their progress on that side of the ball will be probably the defining storyline in South Florida.
I'd be hard-pressed to find a team in the country that replaced a guy like Cam Ward with a quarterback like Carson Beck, just what you're talking about, right? You don't see that level to go from guy who's number 1 pick in the NFL to bring in a guy who many people think could be a better fit in that offense. It's crazy.
No, it is, and Shannon Dawson is a proven offensive coordinator. Heck, he just coached the number 1 pick overall in the NFL draft in Cam Ward. Miami's got the horses, and right out of the chute, home against Notre Dame. I mean, that's the Sunday doubleheader. You got the Hokies and the Gamecocks in Atlanta at 3. Then you move into prime time, and hello, Catholics versus convicts.
I hope they bring that. They should be selling those shirts before the game. That should be in the concession stand, shouldn't it?
Oh, and especially at Miami, I'm sure that a lot of folks will be wearing them because they're proud now.
Yeah, they are. They are. Well, it is big, and it's going to be a fun weekend. I mean, you've done this so long, and we've all covered this, but man, you get so excited, don't you? That first weekend still means something. It's so cool. It's so cool.
Well, and Rick, even more so, I think this season, I sat with Matt Rome, the James Madison athletic director, yesterday, and I asked him, I said, are you anything like me that after an off season that was exhausting with house settlement, college football playoff expansion talk,
right,
just in court cases and just all the off the field stuff, aren't you just eager to watch games? And he said, I am right there with you. Cannot wait. And that's the way I am. So much so that week 1, I'm going to go to 5 games in 5 days.
There you go. See, there it is.
I mean, I am fired up. I'm going to rent me a car and go all over the Southeast and watch me some college football, man.
Awesome. See, there you go. That's why you're the best to do it, man. You still have your enthusiasm after all this time. It's awesome. That's awesome. Well, listen, we will reconvene next week. David, thank you so much, man. Welcome to the new format. Hey, the digital age, as you know, it's kind of headed this way, right? So let's give it a shot and see what happens.
Yeah, why not? Fun.
Yeah, it is. Take care, man. Have a great week, and best of luck with your daughter going back to school this week.
Thanks, Rick. Good luck with the college move-in, man.
No, empty nester, man. It's going to be sad for a little while around here. So thanks, brother. Take care of yourself.
Yep.
All right, that's David Teel, the Hall of Fame writer. Great stuff, David, as always. Looking forward to having him as a regular part of the program. And he's right. What an important doubleheader, not only for us here locally, people in Blacksburg, Virginia Tech fans against South Carolina, but that Miami Notre Dame. Yeah, if they don't have Catholics versus Convicts T-shirts, I don't know what we're doing in marketing here in 2025. It's going to be enormous. Final guest coming up, Dwight Vick. He will join us here in just a little bit, as a matter of fact. And it's always a great conversation with Dwight about anything. But we're going to jump into some Tech football. I want to thank one more time here on the program, the first sponsor of the new show. We got some big sponsorship news heading our way next week. Family Fencing. And they have a no-dig installation system. They build beautiful fences. They don't tear up your yard, no big holes, unlike the cable installers in the bottom of my yard. It was interesting. I talked about that earlier in the week, and then they came yesterday and finished. Any of it, they're locally owned fence experts in the NRV in Southwest Virginia, specializing in aluminum, vinyl, wood, chain link for residential, commercial, and agricultural fencing. They have finance options as well available. Get your free quote today. You can call Family Fencing 540-200-8294, familyfencingnrv.com. Building better fences, no digging required. And we want to thank Mark Hunley, McClellan Chiropractic, for being sponsors of our chat room. If you have questions coming up for Dwight, be sure to hit me up there. Or you can also hit me up, getting a lot of traction here today on the BDST text line, 391-0788. 391-0788. I hit it pretty hard with that number because I had 2 options, and I like that one because my mind of thinking is it's a lot easier to remember 0788. 8 comes after 7, and then there's 2 of them. The other number was all, kind of disjointed with weird numbers and things like that you had to figure out. So that's why I went with 0788 on the text line. Appreciate the messages. Thank you so much. A lot of compliments about the show. I appreciate it. This is your show. And if we're going to make this thing work, we need to do it together. Please, whenever you watch, whatever you do, go through and like and subscribe everything we put up. It helps a whole lot. The algorithm. The show does have its person. It's been YouTube's assigned someone to the live show because it is a live show. They've been great to work with. They have, but they keep up with the algorithm and they tell you what you need to have, things going on your show. So we're off to a really good start. We're getting close already to 300 subscribers, which is amazing to me. But we need to grow that number as quickly as possible. So please tell your friends, your family, whoever it might be, join, like, subscribe. It's free subscription. Other people are like, subscribe. How much is that? No, this isn't premium member content. You just subscribe, so it's just right there. When you go to your YouTube and you'll see, oh, my subscriptions. Oh, let's go watch the show today. Or if you're working all day or you're traveling, oh, let's go. I missed the show. I missed Dwight. I missed David Teel and Andy Bitter. Let's go back and watch it. And the great thing about when you're going back and you're watching it later, you can go through, if you don't want to watch the whole thing, and just pick out the conversation you want to hear. That's what I do on YouTube. You see, all that counts toward the algorithm, which is why that is huge. So we look forward to that here on the program. But hit me up all those different ways, and it's great to hear from you. It's great to be back. It's great to be able to interact with you and to talk to these folks here this week. It's been a lot of fun. Tomorrow is the first Finally Friday edition here on the new show. And don't know what that looks like yet in terms of guests, but we'll put it up Facebook, social media. I still have a couple of things out there that haven't landed yet, but that's okay. We have time, and we can do whatever we would like on the Finally Friday edition. It's hard to believe you're already getting toward the end of week one. There's so much prep and design and fretting about the technology. And as I said, when I got ready to come on this morning, the studio that I use here, this mobile studio, this thing crashed twice. Here we go. Right. So far, so good, though. The second reboot seems to have got it going again. So just remember, if you are watching, there will be times you lose power. There will be times you lose the intraweb theme, your internet connection. And when all that happens, just wait. I'll get it back and we'll reboot as quickly as possible. Now, if the show does have to end because of power, so forth, I will likely go back that evening and finish it and then put it back up with a live stream. But see, that's the luxury that you have that I didn't have before. And like I said, if I'm ever just sitting here wanting to do a stream, we'll let people know and we'll go live, and you can jump in and be part of it. And why not? Because that's what we do here on the program. That's what we do. So yeah. I like the flexibility of it. I do. A whole lot. And I think that was the thing that sold me on this, along with you, when I put the casual information on there. Hey, what would you feel about the show coming back? Then it was it was planning to be a radio gig coming back. And then it didn't happen because that whole radio ownership switch didn't happen. So this is what we did. Joining up. So when we made the decision to do this, we've had a lot of support from local sponsors. Going to have more coming up next week. Big announcement coming. And it's fun. It's a lot of fun. How do I think my Denver Broncos are going to be this season? Jimmy asks in the McClellan Chiropractic chat room. Better, potentially. Depends on the development of Bo Nix. It's year number 2 for him. And I don't really know how that's going to play out for him. I really don't. I hope it works. But we'll get into all that. David Smith, NFL stuff coming up. And because the league is here, man. Preseason again this weekend. I think it's underway again here tonight. But I am extremely excited right now because for the first time here on the new format, I'm joined by the quintessential source for all things Virginia Tech football, founder of Victory Life, all-conference performer. You know it. I know it. Dwight Vick. DV, good morning, brother. How are you? Welcome.
Hey, good morning. I'm good, man. I'm good. I'm sorry my laptop was rebooting.
No, you're fine. You look great.
Appreciate it, man. Great to see you.
You too, man. You've been doing this a long time, this whole YouTube video stuff. So you're a veteran of all this through your Victory Life podcast.
Yeah, man. I love getting on like this, man. Either whether it's radio or streaming or showing my face, it's all good as long as I get to talk about what we get to talk about. I mean, I feel like everybody has something to say, but it's about saying the right things and having something meaningful to say. So that's how I get down. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and that's what you've dedicated your life to, right? Meaningful things to help people with what you tell people. And that's what you say when you talk about Tech football, you talk about it with the same type of passion. And that's why you are so well respected, my friend. I really mean that.
Yeah, man. The season snuck up on us. It really did. I did 2 nights ago. Tuesday night was the first time in really since I probably was talking with you or even my own platform where I really was talking Tech football. Kind of, to be honest with you and everybody listening and watching, I took a break last year. It didn't impact me in a crazy way. It just when you are a fan of a team and you get to a place of not apathy, but you just kind of feel like you're putting time, money, and effort, especially when you cover it on a personal level, right? And it's a part of your DNA. When things fall short and the way that program is meant to perform, I didn't want to say anything negative about people, so I just felt like, let me take a break and focus on my other stuff. I love Virginia Tech, and I love Virginia Tech football. So for me, I was really disappointed on how things ended. I mean, the UVA win was great to end the season. Tech has beaten UVA so much. It's one of those things where I respect UVA, but it's not like it used to be again when I played or what it should be for both programs. UVA has really, really been in a tailspin, and Virginia Tech now is in a similar situation, kind of at a make sure that they kind of get back to where they need to be. Like either they're going to keep going up, ascending, or they're going to fall down.
Well, and that's kind of where we are right now with this season and what it means for Brent Pry and Whit Babcock. I mean, this is the season, the face front season, right? I mean, you know as well as anybody, this is the season they have to show that they're ready to be competitive. How many wins that looks like? It feels like maybe 8 wins is needed, right? You now, unfortunately, they've had such little success. This now feels like that's the number. Now you can set a number to it. What's it going to take to keep this program under this leadership going?
Yeah, and it's disappointing when that situation. I've gone on record on your show. I'm a Pry guy. I still have a lot of love and respect for Brent Pry. I feel like the new additions to the staff have been really good. But we only will know when the season starts. I feel like you have the talent to win 8 games. The schedule sets up well. I mean, I don't like to say favorable games, but the schedule was set up nicely as well last year. But I feel like, maybe sometimes when the whispers and the seats getting warm, you coach and play with a sense of urgency. And I think that's what Tech didn't have last year. I mean, there were 4 or 5 games they should have won. The Syracuse game comes to mind. The Miami game comes to mind. If you don't do that fake field goal and just keep running in, you go up 2 scores. Miami really had not stopped Tech all night. You forced Cam Ward, the great quarterback, into 2 turnovers, maybe 3, I believe. It might have been a fumble. But basically, you had 3 or 4 games, 5 games you should have won, and they didn't finish. They had Clemson. They only lost to Clemson last year, 24-14.
Yeah.
Clemson, and I said this going into that game, that last year was not Clemson's team of old. That was a very winnable game. You had them at home. You block a field goal and score. The defense in the first half was playing lights out, and offensively, they just could not get any cohesiveness. They didn't run the ball well. It just was weird how they gave away games. And some of that, and I went on your show, I said on Twitter Spaces, and even on my platform, they didn't know how to finish because I felt like they were not mentally and physically tough enough. That's why I was advocating for a change with the strength and conditioning program. I felt like Jared Ferguson who was already there, should have been the head guy. I don't know why it took so long. I don't think, listen, sometimes in life, many times in life, when you're comfortable and complacent, it makes you feel like everything is going to be okay. And even when things are going, you got to get to a place like we can't relax. I said it many times on your platform. Virginia Tech is not a program, and the players in that program are not in a position to exhale. They can't. What are you resting on? What have you done? The videos are great and all the energy is great. I love the fact that it's a family atmosphere, but as far as what we are expecting to see, they haven't given us that. I think I looked this up the other day, just preparing for the season. 3 winning seasons since 2018, something of that nature. I mean, think about that. It's 2025. This is a program that was winning 10 games, 11 games. And I know things happen. You replace a legend with Frank Beamer. Fuente had a flash in the pan, but overall, I feel like we have to coach and play with a sense of urgency. That's just the way I see it, and I have the credibility to say it. And there are a lot of people, not just former alumni, former players, but a lot of people that follow this program feel the same way.
Well, and you mentioned that credibility, and you're talking to players, not only players who came out when you did DV, but guys since then. You've become friends, you've gotten to know relationships. Everybody's watching this closely, and everybody's got the same feeling. And like you're just saying with Jared Fergus, I know how excited you are about that, but so many people I've heard said the same thing. Why wasn't this something that was recognized sooner, right? And that, just like the coordinator hires, and how many times did we talk about it, right? You're a new coach, you bring in 2 new guys. Now Brent Pry gets it, but you hope it's not too little too late.
Yeah, you're right.
Right.
Too little too late. That's a great point. And I'm in a position where I have several guys in that locker room that are on the coaching staff that are my brothers. J.C. Price, Xavier DV, Pearson Prelo, Jared Ferguson. Cam Phillips is a guy that I was a big fan of. Know him. He's helping out. I just feel like the culture is there. I feel like they want to do well, but it's a business. At the same time, you got to just make sure it's like coding. You got to make sure you have the right codes in place for the operation to perform to its best of its ability. And, when I think about this season, you kick off that season with South Carolina. Shane Beamer, a longtime friend, former teammate of mine. I know his mindset. South Carolina's got some talent. They are adding 9 new faces. I feel like when you play a game of that magnitude, it makes you prepare better in the offseason. I will say this, Virginia Tech is right where they want to be as far as an underdog. Nobody really feels like they can win that game. You have a chance, really. To me, it's all about opportunity. It's not about being uncomfortable. It's not about being scared. But you have an opportunity to start the season 2-0 against 2 quality opponents in the SEC, which perception is reality. South Carolina and Vanderbilt are not programs. And I love South Carolina's history, their pageantry and tradition.
Yeah.
But they're pretty much a Virginia Tech type program too. Shane's got them going in the right direction, but perception is you go and beat a highly ranked South Carolina team, a team that had a great season last year in that kickoff, and then you turn around and you play Vanderbilt, a game you should have won. You up 27-20 with a minute and some change left last year at their place. You start off 2-0. You're probably going to start the season ranked after that, and then you're also going to get some feeling around the program that, okay, this could be a very good, successful year.
Right.
You go 1-1, that's okay, but if you go 0-2, the noise will get louder, and this is not noise you can just cover your ears and hope it goes away. Right. This is going to be a situation in which you have to let it all loose. This can't be a situation where you come in the presser and say, well, we didn't execute. They did some things we didn't see before. You have to really attack every opponent. It's reminiscent of me as when Virginia Tech came off one of the most disappointing seasons in program history in 2003, where they had a loaded roster with Jake Grove, Ernest Wilford, D'Angelo Hall, Brian Randall, Keith Willis, Jay Grove, and all those guys. That team won against Texas A&M. They won against some other opponents, but they crumbled and stumbled down the stretch. And in 2004, the inaugural season in the ACC, they were picked near the bottom, and there was whispers that Virginia Tech really lost their way post Michael Vick. And then in that 04 season, they started off against the two-time defending national champs with USC. And they had a tough loss, controversial with a couple of calls. But overall, Beamer decided to go with the youth movement and put Eddie Royal and those young receivers in there. And they started season 2-2, and then they went on and won 8 straight games and finished 10-2. Beamer knew he wasn't on the hot seat. It was more so like we are in the ACC now, in a more competitive conference, even though the Big East was just as good. It was just a deeper conference, more credibility. And they seized the momentum and they seized the moment, and they became the front runner in the face of the ACC. The ACC right now is a program, you know, there's whispers of teams leaving. College football is always evolving, a lot of changes. To me, we can't control that, but what we can control is the product on the field. And basically, a lot of fans are kind of burnt out on history lessons. Nobody really wants to see old videos and hear about how it used to be. We need some new memories in Blacksburg. We need new memories. We need, and the most importantly, we need a signature win. And in South Carolina, a national championship, no. But for Virginia Tech right now, given that you're coming off a 6-7 season, then the year before that 7-6, the year before that 3-8, this is your championship game. It is, because when Virginia Tech used to open up against Alabama, Nick Saban versus Frank Beamer, the word was these are 2 national championship contending teams. Think about that. So even if Virginia Tech lost, it was like, hey, they're going to drop a little bit. They're still going to make a run because they just opened up against Alabama. Virginia Tech right now, all the talk is about South Carolina. All the talk. So you need to take that personally if you're a player and a coach. It needs to be and I know this about Shane. You're going to see everything. Don't be surprised to see a fake punt, a fake field goal. Yeah. If they get up 2 scores, he'll probably try to run it up. I mean, I know this. Shane Beamer loves Virginia Tech as much as I do, but his wife right now is South Carolina.
That's right. That's right.
South Carolina. Yeah.
Well, and I think, just listening to you describe Shane, I mean, for Tech fan, they can look at what he was faced with last year. He had a similar type of pressure on him. He talked about it going into that season last year at South Carolina. I mean, he was on a scorching hot seat. There were lots of rumors that the whole fate of the AD was going to be on Shane. And, they put together that season was close. They were close to knocking on the door of the playoffs. So now all of a sudden, he's got more contract years added and things are kind of, like you're saying, now they've built up here. So it can be done. And that's kind of what Pry's facing. He's facing Shane Beamer's 2024 here in 25.
Yeah, and that's the nature of college football. And even with high school now, you got NIL in the state of Virginia for high school athletes. We are in a new era of high school and collegiate sports. I mean, the truth of the matter is, and this has always been this way, but especially now, collegiately, it is a what have you done for me lately business. And you got to perform and you got to win. And no one's going to feel sorry for you. The truth of the matter is that pressure and sometimes and stress is good sometimes because it forces you to lock in. You can't wait to put in a Caleb Woodson. You can't wait to put a talented player in. If a veteran player is not getting it done, he has to be benched or adjust the roster. You can't wait just because a guy's been there or he's making $400,000 versus a guy that's the better player that makes $70,000. You got to put the better player in. And if he leaves during the season, goodbye. You can't cater to players. There's got to be a culture and a sense of urgency. And there was some pushback when I said that before. Well, who are you going to put in? What's funny about that is that when Jimmy Williams got kicked out of the Gator Bowl for bumping the official, he got suspended for the game, and they put in a kid named Eric Green. And no one really knew who he was. He had played some during the season, but then he became an all-award corner. There have been a lot of guys in Tech history, even in recent years during the Fuente era, that a kid was forced into action, and you're like, wow, this guy's pretty good, or he can help us win. It's really in life in college football, it's about an opportunity. Here's the thing. Experience is only going to get gained if you play a kid, right? Number 2, if you have anybody on that roster you don't believe in, then they should not be on your roster.
That's right.
So that means if if a kid's not getting it done, let's go with a redshirt freshman. Put him in. Let's go with a true freshman because he's got 4 games to play without burning his shirt. So again, it's all about roster management. That's another thing we got to get better at. Roster management. Again, having a pulse on your team to put guys in. You and I had this same conversation going into the season last year. You were like, it was game week. And I know we'll talk game week coming up
yes.
as the season gets closer because it's only a few weeks away. And you said, Dwight, you said, hey, what did Tech have to do to beat Vanderbilt? And I said they have to run the ball and they can't come out there sleepwalking because Vanderbilt is going to treat it like it's a Super Bowl. And if you're going to find yourself in a dogfight, you don't want that. I said, jump on them early, get up 14, make them press one-dimensional, and then you'll win that game on the road. And what did they do? They did what I concerned everybody about. They came out sleepwalking. You know how many carries Tootin had in that game? 9.
I still don't understand. I'll never understand that thought process they had.
Now, for the positivity on this segment, the truth of the matter is I really feel like with Jared Ferguson, the coordinators he brought in for offense and defense are an upgrade. I feel like you got a lot of players right now that understand what the assignment is, and they want to stand on business. So I feel like the energy around the program is good. I feel like sometimes from what I'm seeing, this is the first time in years I didn't go to the spring game, but I've been watching, I've been reading, I've been listening and paying attention. You have a lot of kids in this locker room who also understand what Tech football needs to be. And I really feel like right now, not that the last group didn't understand, I just felt like there was a lot of like, oh, we're going to be good, we're going to be great because we have 21 of the 22 stars returning. And I just felt like it was too much entitlement. And I feel like these kids are going to really work because these kids, other than a few people, really have something to improve. I said on Boundary Corner podcast in their season preview a few nights ago, I said, the truth of the matter is everybody on this team, including my favorite, Kyron Drones, everyone on this roster has something to prove. It's not like, well, we know this guy's a preseason All-American and this kid last year had 900 yards receiving. There is nobody on this roster that can rest on their laurels. Nobody. It's got to be a sense of urgency for everybody.
It does, and it has to begin game one. The one thing that I guess they're going to have about this game, maybe it's an advantage. Everything's pretty much shut down. Andy was just talking about it. 2 coordinators. We don't know what it's going to look like. We know what Kyron Drones can be, but we don't know what it's going to look like. So Shane has an idea. He can go back and watch film or what these coordinators were, but he's not going to know who's going to replace Bashal Tootin. What's it going to look like? So I think Brent Pry is really playing into that too as an extra advantage. It feels like. Yeah, and
the great thing about the first game of the season, when I mentioned Tech and Alabama when they played a couple of times to start the season, and this is the great thing about college football and high school football. The defense is usually ahead of the offense because the offense really, you don't really get any scrimmages like you get in basketball, what they call exhibition games. So everybody's kind of, I don't care if you're Ohio State or even the big boys that are, national championship contenders. The first game, even the first 2 weeks, there's a lot of teams. You'll see scores like, how is LSU only up 6 points? Right. Because it's early in the season. So to me, if this was later in the season, we would know, like you mentioned, like Andy said, you would have a better idea how everybody is. But at the same time, I really feel like it's a winnable game for Tech because you're playing South Carolina, who also has a little bit of something to prove because there's a lot more pressure and expectations on them. But we don't know what they're going to look like either in regards to this is the first game of the season. What you see sometimes is a guy means the fair catch. It doesn't, fumbles a kickoff. And all of a sudden it's a bobble snap or a tip pass because the rhythm and everything is not on point like it will be in week 5. You really want to seize the moment when you play these kind of games to start the season. The team that comes out locked in, that crowd's going to be electric. My wife and I went to a South Carolina game 2 years ago. South Carolina, Virginia Tech fans will be looking in the mirror because they're very passionate, same kind of fan base, loyal, raucous. Tech usually takes over Atlanta, but they're going to have their work cut out. It'll be a neutral crowd as far as South Carolina representing and Virginia Tech representing. I really feel like the X factor in this game is not the offense for Virginia Tech, but defense. I like the scheme that we're supposed to see. I feel like Virginia Tech has a talent. One key factor, always, I say this, I know it gets corny, kind of cliche-ish, but J.C. Price and company, the defensive line for Tech, will need to set the tone. They lost APR, but I really feel like they've upgraded in the portal with some other pieces. Now I really feel like J.C. Price is the unsung hero because his unit usually shows up. And the offensive line, you brought in 2 guys over from West Virginia. I like the upgrade at the O-line position because the offensive line coaches, Rudolph is a veteran. He's a legend in the game, but his unit was average to below average at best. He was here for 1 year. He was like the Final Four. It was a one shining moment, and he was gone. And then Crooks came in, and I knew from the first 2 games our offensive line looked lost in the sauce. They couldn't do blitz pickups. We gave up too many situations on RPO actions where guys were miscommunicating, sliding one way, the other guy slide the other way. I don't think that's going to happen with this group. I really feel like the offensive line will perform much better because you have a proven coach. And with the money Virginia Tech spends and the conference they're in, you're not in a position to have too many unproven people leading kids who need to understand the assignment.
And I know your eyes always start every game you watch. What's going on up front, the position you know so well. You know immediately what it's supposed to look like, how it's supposed to function. And it's crazy, I know, but we're talking about 5 new starters, new offensive line coach, but everybody's saying how much better already it looks at any point since Brent Pry's been there. It's scary and also a good sign at the same time, right?
I listen. Everyone knows this, and I always say this every year we do this periodically throughout the season. I wanted Fuente to do well. I didn't know him personally. I felt like he missed the assignment when it came to relating to former players and alumni and the fan base. I think he was kind of closed off, and I think that hurt him in the end. There were a lot of weird decisions and strangeness around the program, uncertainty. And then when Pry came in, this is a guy that was there when I was there. He helped build the program as a GA in those, golden era Hokie years and the Sugar Bowl runs and things of that nature. And he comes back and, I really want him to do well. I want guys to keep their jobs. I want guys to win. I really feel like this team can win 8 games or more. But it starts really with what you do behind the scenes. The personnel is there. There are a few spots that are in question, but I mean, you have players and you have a system that can work. I think Virginia Tech, this is what I know. And I know history is history, but I think cultural-wise, you are who you are, right? Virginia Tech has always done well with a great defense and a dual-threat mobile quarterback. I mean, they just always have. I mean, great O-line play, great defensive line play. And you know what I'm describing, Rick, is an identity. And I think right now, that's still, after all these years, we're still waiting to see what is, I got my ruler out, what is Virginia Tech's identity? What is Virginia Tech's identity? And I think we're going to learn a lot the first 4 to 5 games. They really have an opportunity to really get off to a great start because a South Carolina win can really propel you into a big home opener against Vanderbilt. The energy will be right, and you owe them something. Everyone remembers what happened last year. They're not the same team. You go 2-0, then you got Walford and Odie. Now you're 4-0, and you're ranked. And you're like, we're shooting, as they say, we're Gucci and out of conference play. Yeah. Now you have a little bit of a cushion. And can you imagine if Pry can get his staff and players to have that kind of energy and avoid the notorious what happened here, Virginia Tech loss, where even back when I played, every year we have 1 or 2 losses. Like, how did that happen? How did Virginia Tech lose that game? And I think that's why a lot of fans are upset because they're tired of being the signature wins for other programs. Virginia Tech, if I had a title of this season, it would be Show and Prove / which game will be a signature win. Pride needs a signature win. Virginia Tech's Beamer signature win, he had several, but the one that really got it going was the Miami win in 95 because they had never beat Miami, and they were 0-2. You're talking about, I say this all the time, I said this even on the Beamer documentary. You lose that game, I don't think none of this happens. None of this happens because you go 0-3 and you never know what happens. but you win that game, and then you make history. That was a signature win. Then you had other ones, the Sugar Bowl win, that other signature win that year. Fast forward, you had others. Pride needs that on his resume. And then finally, man, I say this every episode when we do leadership. Who are the guys? Because that's not something Sporting News or Andy Bitter or Mike Barber or David Teel or myself or my guys over at Boundary can really identify until the season starts. Who are going to be your leaders? Because in all the great Tech teams to even good teams that went to 8-9 game winning streaks or wins and went to bowl games, they had adequate to superior leadership.
Right.
And I think leadership is going to be essential.
Well, we're very interested to see how it develops. And, man, I'm so glad to see you and so glad to have you part of the new show, DV. Can't imagine doing it without you, brother. It's great stuff as always.
Yes, man. Thank you. I'm glad I was missing you, man. But, when you were working some stuff out, and I was like, I'm here when you need me, man. And I love talking Tech football. I love talking with you. And I love the fact that we get to have this segment to kind of allow me to share my thoughts. Now, I'm hoping, I feel like when I came back, there were so many guys that would come up to me and they would hear me on your platform and they appreciated my thoughts. So I only speak on what I know. That this segment was about electrical. If this was about electrical engineering, I would have been mute.
You and I would have started talking about movies if that was going to be the topic. Yeah,
we could do movies all day.
We're going to do that.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you. Yes, sir.
Thank you, man. Spread the word. Get people to subscribe, and we will talk to you next week, man. Have a great weekend.
You too. Also, how can people watch this? So when I start texting people, what is it? Before with the radio.
Yeah, it's right there on YouTube, man. Big Dog Sports Talk, DWG with Rick Watson. You have to put in with Rick Watson because there's other big dogs. So it's right there. The show populates every day, and it's easy. There's a menu there. You can go back and watch old shows. It's very simple. I love it.
I love it too. Well, I appreciate you, man. You have a good one. I'll see you next week.
All right, see you next week. Take care, Dwight. All right, there you go. Yep. Dwight Vick here on the program. Man, that's great info as always. Love Dwight Vick. And thanks to all of our guests today. We appreciate it. Good stuff. Getting a lot of great comments. Thanks for hitting us up on the McClellan Chiropractic chat line. Great guests today as we let off, obviously, with Andy Bitter, senior writer for Tech Sideline, and David Teel. And then finish it off right there with Dwight Vick. We know tomorrow on the Finally Friday, I believe we got Will Stewart and Mike Ashley. And it looks like the other gentleman to join us will be Phil Steele from the Phil Steele College Football Magazine. That's right. The best in the biz. We're done. Everybody enjoy the rest of your Thursday. Thank you so much for watching. Please take the time. Go back and watch the shows. It counts. Anybody who watches and likes, subscribes later, go back and get it done because when you join us here on the program at any point, it helps us tremendously. Great stuff. Thanks for watching. Thanks for the comments. Thanks to our guests. Enjoy the rest of your Thursday. See everybody. We'll talk to you on the Finally Friday edition. Take care.